This is We All Be News-Free Dixie for the 21st century. See how it works? Somewhere. Can you dig it?
And so just want you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity. And know some of the things I know, how you drive all over the country to chase us down. Chase us down. Okay? We move so fast. I don't know if you're married. I don't know if you're a family. I don't know if you're a wife. Okay? But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, what, that's, I owe that to you. It's an obligation that you have. How old are you?
Oh, 36.
So you don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. Mm-hmm. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food. Right. There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you the feeder. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. Huh? You got to till the grain. And at nighttime, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
The champ is here. The champ is here. Guess who's back? Back again. Brother Ron. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's black? Guess who's back? It's me, Brother Ron, and this is We All Be News-Free Dixie for the 21st century. Welcome all, welcome all. Come one, come all. Because we all be in it to win it. We all be in it to win it. Thank you all for stopping by, offering your good vibrations and your insights and your thoughts. Look at them all. Okay, shout out Baldhead Jamaican. Okay, yeah, I hear you. Thank you, Brother Rick. We love you madly from Chicago. That barber, that what? Thailand town. Yeah, Chicago. I'll show you around, Sister Barbara. Man, I love that. You said a bad trade, a shooter for a shooter. Okay, I love it. I was thinking about when you said it too. I'm thinking about cause I'm a fan of the show The Wire, right? I'm thinking about Snoop. So they got Snoop out on bail. Y'all Wire people, y'all know I'm talking about Snoop. She was a hitter for Marlo, the hitter. He's your do. I love be more people because they got that. They be that do to you. You always tell somebody from Baltimore when they start talking, you can hear that you do to you. All that good stuff. And we're gonna get into it. Thank you for tuning in or tuning out to tune in to get in where you fit in. Thank you. And good evening to you. Thank you. Peace and love. And yeah, trading a shooter for a shooter. It's interesting. You start thinking about that. Trump would have got her home without all that messiness of the Biden administration. This is like really, really messy. Trump would have got her home without making those type of concessions. I really do believe that Trump, he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal, right? So, I mean, he would have definitely worked that to the United States advantage. And Biden, I mean, he's Biden. But they always make an excuse. It's funny how Joe Biden gets the support of the mainstream media more so than anybody. They really want to make him look really, really, really good. And they want to make Donald Trump look really, really, really bad, which is interesting because I don't trust the media at all. It's like I don't trust these results of these elections that we're having. I think voting is the least important thing you could do in politics or parlor tricks. I don't think that's the most important thing. And people say you got to vote. I mean, it's a popularity contest. It's not about the issues, especially when you are a group of people historically that has not asked for anything. And when you try to ask for something, there's always a fight. Somebody got to die. If I go, you got to go. Somebody got to die. Let the buckshots blow, okay? Baby, you know. Let me see. There's a lot to digest. And also, December 8th is a very powerful day in history. And if you follow me, if you a fan of We All Be, I think Luna somebody trying to contact me, one of the mods. Hopefully she'll show up. But you know, December 8th, I don't know, something about December, ending of the year, also the beginning. It's the ending of the year, but also the beginning of winter. The winter solstice was December 21st, I believe. This year, I don't know. But December 8th is an important time in history. Like, you know, if you're a music fan, you know about this is the day that they killed John Lennon on December the 8th. John Lennon was killed at the Dakota December 8th, 1980, allegedly by Mark David Chapman. I got to say allegedly because it's weird, the case of Mark David Chapman, because like one of the leading detectives on the John Lennon murder case, he said basically that, you know, this guy could have got away with it. It was like the perfect murder. You know, most murders go unsolved anyway. Most murders are not solved. I mean, I know that we look at these TV shows like CSI or Law and Order and all that stuff. They think you have the murder solved within under an hour. But most murder cases go unsolved. But the detective was making the case that this was like the perfect crime. He could have got away with this, but allegedly he just waited for the authorities to come to get him. He waited for the authority to come to get him, to arrest him, but he could have easily got away with it. Then you hear things that the doorman at the Dakota was a Cuban national who was a well-known CIA assassin. So you don't know who really done in John Lennon, right? And then you got look at the fact that Mark David Chapman was able to travel around the world in luxury. Like, I don't know if he was related to some type of he inherited a fortune, but he had no means of economic support, but yet he was able to travel around the world without any problem, staying at lavish hotels and resorts and things of that nature from my research. So it's very interesting. Then you look at John Lennon, why were the Beatles brought over here in the first place? Because, you know, they made their British invasion back in 1964. Then the question you got to ask is what happened before 1964? What happened that year before was the Kennedy assassination in Dallas. And then you got people questioning the conclusion of the Warren Commission report. A lot of Americans did not agree that Oswald acted alone. You know, even Dan Rather, y'all talk about fake news. Y'all want to talk about Alex Jones. Y'all want to talk about a lot of people. Dan Rather made his fortune. He made his name on misremembering. I ain't gonna even say he lied. I'm gonna say he misremembered the direction of Kennedy's head on the Zapruder film. You gotta realize that the Zapruder film was not released until like a decade later for the public. It was on Gerardo Rivera's Good Night America show, and none other than our hero, our prophet Baba Dick Gregory, was on the stage with Gerardo Rivera when the Zapruder film was presented before the American public for the first time. And this is years later. This is back in the 70s when this happened. But Dan Rather allegedly saw the Zapruder film back in 63. And he said that JFK head went to the front or something like that. And we all could see it went, where did it go? To the back, went back, right? But he said it went forward or something like that. And that made his career. That made his, you know, he one of the most trusted men in news, right? For decades, supposedly. But that made his career, I'm gonna say misremembering the action that was done to Kennedy's head. How he did back and forth, or back front and to the back. You know, we all saw the JFK movie, front and to the back, whatever, back. So with that said, back then there was only 3 major networks back then. So now you got social media and all this stuff, but it's controlled by a handful of corporations. Like 95% of the media news is controlled by 5 or 6 corporations, probably even smaller than that in actuality. But you know, that's why I mean social media is interesting to me, because the ability to get out information, whether good or bad, the ability to be able to get that out there at a phenomenal speed, regardless of the accuracy of said information, but the ability, because you know, you look at these stories, they always change in a way. It's like you doing like a rough draft of history where it's revised, and then you get the so-called official story. And the official story is way beyond what was the initial story. The initial story is different from the so-called official story. So people got to keep in mind when that type of stuff goes on. But since I just brought up, I bring up JFK. This is also, I talked about John Lennon. This is also the 50th anniversary of the infamous Watergate crash that happened in Chicago. Chicago, that throttling down. It happened in Chicago back on December 8th, 1972. We had 43 people get killed in that crash in Chicago. They was on their way to the Midway Airport in Chicago. This was United Airlines flight 553, also known as the Watergate crash, but this was United Airlines flight 553. 41 people were killed on board. There about, I believe, about 61 people on the flight altogether, but 41 perished on the flight. Then you had 2 people on the ground get killed because they crashed into a neighborhood. So they crashed into a home, killed the 2 people on the ground. What is really weird about that flight is the people that were on the flight that were casualties on that flight included Dorothy Hunt, who was the wife of E. Howard Hunt, the infamous CIA spook and goon, who allegedly he did a deathbed confession that he was one of the planners and plotters in on the JFK assassination. He's allegedly one of the 3 tramps that was arrested and let go. You know, that infamous photo of the 3 tramps. E. Howard Hunt was allegedly one of the tramps. And also he was a prolific spy novelist. I'm surprised that Amazon haven't given him the Tom Clancy treatment for some of his spy novels and thrillers. But he was a real life boogeyman, a goon for them boys, from them alphabet boys, you know. And his wife was a CIA spook. She was known as the pay mistress. Like, she was the one collecting monies for the for E. Howard Hunt's co-conspirators in the Watergate scandal. You know, they broke into the Watergate office complex. It was a black man that's doing his job, a security guard named Frank Wills. He exposed these guys. He called in the DC police, and they got caught breaking into the Democratic Party headquarters at the Watergate complex. And so this all happened in 72, right? So allegedly, I guess E. Howard Hunt, with the help of his wife, was blackmailing or extorting the Nixon administration. I am not a crook. They was extorting him for money. I guess hush money for the co-conspirators and their families to keep quiet about their involvement or their connection to the Nixon administration as it related to the Watergate scandal. So she was on the plane. And some people believe she had like $2 million worth of traveler checks on her person, but that never came up. I think they found a smaller amount, way smaller amount of money on her person. But what's particular is that the Washington Post today, for the 50th anniversary of the Watergate crash, reported that she took out like almost $250,000 insurance policy at the Washington airport at the time. That she actually took out like a $225,000 life insurance policy before she boarded the plane, United Airlines flight 553. So that's interesting. You know, that's very interesting. And then also you got recordings of Nixon talking to one of his White House goons or operators, fixers, Chuck Colson. And Nixon sounded like he was genuinely shocked by her death. Like he wasn't expecting her to be dead. So I don't know, because like, people could do things on your behalf without your consent, without you even knowing that they're doing it on your behalf. If you start looking at these powerful, like these presidents, it's not just the Clintons that have a body count. You got all the presidents, they have body counts. You know what I'm saying? You start digging into the research. Nixon had his body count, just like JFK. All these guys had body counts. But a lot of times these people that operate these goons ain't always in connect with the boss. There's layers to insulate the big man from the little man. You understand? There's layers to this. So Nixon may not have known that she was being targeted by people that may have had his best interest, allegedly. I'm not saying that he knew, but if you listen to the White House tapes, because they recorded Nixon when he was president in the White House and, all this other stuff, he was shocked that she was dead. And it's like he admired her a lot. Like Chuck Colson had admiration for her as well. Okay, I think they were alums of Brown University out of Rhode Island. So they got, his family got close with her family. So he had a lot of respect for her. And she was a CIA spy. She was a spook at one point, a CIA spook, like her husband. But she died in that plane. Then Michelle Clark, one of the first, if not the first Black woman television news journalist, television anchor woman. She was on the plane. Chicago native Michelle Clark was on that plane. She died. She perished, along with Dorothy Hunt, and also U.S. Congressman George Collins, who was a Black man. He also perished as well on the plane. And his wife actually took his seat and was in power for almost 20-something years. I think she took his seat in 72 or won it in 73 and remained in that position until she retired in 1997. So this is like, why people don't talk about this? Why? I mean, new Black media, come on, man. I'm gonna talk about the Brittney Griner thing, but I want to just talk about this. I think it's very important because even a lot of Black news media didn't know about it. Was a Black man, Frank Wills, a security guard. He was just 24 years young, that brought down the most powerful man in the world, Richard Nixon, just doing his job. He wasn't trying to bring down the president at night. Like he said, it, if he had known all the headache and heartache it would have caused him to bring down Richard Nixon, he would probably never reported that tape on the door. He probably would never remove the tape off the door that the so-called Watergate plumbers put on the door. They have easy access to what they were trying to do. But yeah, Michelle Clark is interested in George Collins, Dorothy Hunt, but the first responders were the FBI. The first people on the scene were the FBI, not the firemen, not the police, but the Federal Bureau of Investigation was on the scene. That's December 8th, 1972. Let me read a little short thing I prepared, commemorating what happened. Because a lot of people believe that Michelle Clark was on the plane with Dorothy Hunt to do an exclusive about the Watergate situation. I guess Michelle Clark was kind of like insurance for Dorothy Hunt, just in case something happened. But like I said, they alleged she took out a $225,000 life insurance policy right before she boarded the plane to meet her destiny in Chicago. Thank you, Brother Taylor, Pastor, Minister Richard Taylor in the house. Good brother. Check out his show. He's on Facebook as well. Good stuff he's doing for the people in North Carolina. Congratulations on becoming Anointed One official. Good people. Thank you, Sister Gail. I'll be seeing your comments. You be cracking me up. You keep me inspired. I appreciate you checking in. And for the comments you made on the last show, I appreciate that. Yeah, and something happened while you run the errand. They said the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So you're right about that. Ain't nobody gonna pay for that insurance if it go up. If I had a little accident trying to do a good deed for a loved one. Yeah, it is. No, he said the audacity of hope is just a wish. Where's the results? We don't get anything. We don't ask for anything. And we don't have anything like we should as Black people. Yeah, it's some full moon behavior going on. That's why the Georgia Werewolf lost. We're gonna talk about the Georgia Werewolf because he should have won, and that's enough. I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about the reason why he lost, and it's bigger than him being an idiot, supposedly, allegedly. And he's not an idiot. Herschel Walker is not an idiot. I don't know the man, but he got some type of sense. He can run on football plays. One of the greatest running backs at any level in the history of the game of football, so or foosball. But let's talk about this Watergate crash, and I'm trying to keep this on the 2 hours, so we'll get into it. And if you like the words from Brother Herb, please support. Donations are welcome. Cash App, $R2C2H2. That's $R2C2H2. And yeah. Let me see if I can find the script. Never forget, on December 8th, 1972, 50 years ago today, United Airlines Flight 553 crashed into a residential Chicago neighborhood. It was destroying 5 homes. Okay, should be noted. It was the first fatal crash involving a Boeing 737 during a commercial flight. Out of the 61 people on board, 41 perished, including 2 more people on the ground, totaling 43 in all. This incident is also known as the Watergate crash because of some of the victims aboard who were connected to the Watergate scandal. This included CIA spy Dorothy Hunt, the wife of E. Howard Hunt, CIA spy, goon, deathbed confessed JFK co-assassin, Watergate plumber, and prolific spy novelist. He was the guy with the big ears, right? Like in the Netflix The Irishman movie. Some claims suggested that she was carrying a bag that contained as much as $1 million in cash or $2 million in travelers' checks, courtesy of the Nixon administration, as hush payments for the legal and family expenses of the Watergate conspirators. The bag was never officially recovered. Allegedly, the first responders on the scene were not firefighters or the police, but the FBI man. Also on board was Michelle Clark, the first Black female news network anchorwoman. She was allegedly working on a news story about Watergate with Mrs. Hunt. Her boyfriend was allegedly CIA as well. See how it works? Also, Mrs. Clark and her family were the targeted victims of the infamous Cicero race riot of 1951. The incident involved 4,000 to 5,000 white folks terrorizing the family over several days after her father moved the family into an apartment building where they were the only Black residents. Cicero is a suburb of Chicago and was once a stronghold of the Al Capone mob, aka the Outfit. It was also notorious for being a de facto sundown town and very racist towards Blacks. Illinois Governor Adlai Stevenson had to call in the National Guard to restore order. From my understanding, her family had to leave all their belongings, including a beautiful piano, and just escape with their lives. Hollywood can't make up a story like this, man. Michelle Clark Academic Preparatory Magnet High School in Chicago is named in her honor. Another prominent victim was Black U.S. Congressman George Collins. His Black wife took his place in Congress. Cardis Collins was the first African-American woman to represent a Midwestern district in Congress and served in the House of Representatives from 1973 until her retirement in 1997, a tenure of over 23 years. In April 1976, the Chicago Public Schools opened Collins Academy High School, a public neighborhood high school in his honor. I don't believe in accidents or coincidences. The biggest conspiracy is the one that tells you conspiracies don't exist. Somewhere, reclaim the narrative, cold game, Illuminati. So yeah, That actually happened, folks. And that's why we don't know about this. Should be better known. But a great source to check this stuff out like this, the late, great Sherman Skolnick from Chicago. Renowned private investigator and journalist. He did a lot to uncover some of the truths behind the Watergate crash of 72. And also he did a great job of really exposing some things in the JFK Jr. plane assassination. See, I don't believe in accidents anymore. Y'all believe everything's an accident. Look at the death of the labor union pioneer, Walter Reuther. I think it's Walter Reuther, right? Guy that was a supporter of King. They took him out in a plane crash. Him and his wife got killed. It was horrible. This happened like a year or two after Dr. King was assassinated. And they tried to kill him a couple of times. They tried to kill Walter Reuther a couple of times. They tried to assassinate him back in the 40s. They did some damage to his arm. He had to learn how to reuse his arm. So they've been trying to target Walter Reuther, who was a friend of the civil rights movement. And they finally got him, I want to say in 1970, in some type of weird plane crash that I refuse to say it was an accident. And when they do say it's an accident, it's always pilot's error, right? It was pilot error. They still don't know how Otis Redding's plane went down in 67, in December of 67. They'll say it was an accident. They don't really know what happened to Otis Redding's plane. At least we don't know officially what actually happened. And Otis had $10,000 in a suitcase on him that night, or when that happened. According to the people that retrieved his body, they turned it into the authorities, but the authorities claim they either never had it or they never got it. And you got to understand, policeman's salary back then at that time in that area was $5,000 a year. Otis Redding made that double in one night of just doing music. He made 10,000, I think, in one night or two. He had that on his person, and somebody took that suitcase and never gave it back to the rightful owners or the loved ones of Otis, whatever. Anyway, I also remember they did a show. What is it, Showtime or was it Stars? Stars did a show with Julia Roberts playing Martha Mitchell, who was the wife of Nixon's attorney general at the time, called Gaslit. I think they made a mention of the flight, United Airlines Flight 553, the Watergate crash in that show. It was a limited series show. It's worth looking because they also put a spotlight on Frank Wills, because he's the one that kicked this off, a black security guard that's doing his job at the Watergate complex. I want to say it was August of 72. This 24 years old from Georgia, from deep in Georgia, right? He didn't know what he was doing. He's a good old country boy, did his job, and then started his life at 24. I think he lived for like 25 more years, something like that. Died poor and destitute. He was so poor, he couldn't even afford to bury his mama. He had to donate her body to science, not because it was a request to be donated to science, but because he couldn't afford to bury his mom. And he didn't even have indoor plumbing when he died. You know, Dick Gregory gave him a job working for him, I think, at a resort that Dick Gregory ran and owned in the Bahamas, I believe. But other than that, I mean, he was looked upon as being you know what. I mean, this man should be celebrated as an American hero. But this year is the 50th anniversary of the Watergate break-in. This is the 50th anniversary of the Watergate crash in Chicago. And I have yet, outside of what I do, see new black media do anything to honor the legacy of Frank Wills, which is unfortunate, and he should be better remembered. But yeah, I mean, if he got done in like George Floyd, we might have more reverence for Frank Wills and the actual sacrifice. Cause y'all fake mad about Dion and Neon Dion primetime, but I'm saying we have people that made sacrifices that basically their life was over at an early age, and we don't even respect them enough to say their names on our platforms or even do the research. So Michelle Clark was, she died. I don't know. It's weird about Michelle Clark, that black woman, the news correspondent, because you read different versions of the stories. Like she was cremated. The network that she worked for CBS, allegedly they chose to cremate her without the family signing off on it. I read a couple of stories where they said that the network had her cremated. I guess they didn't do an autopsy or anything like that. They identified, because people burned beyond recognition. They had to use jewelry to identify Dorothy Hunt because she was so badly burnt up from my reading. But I believe that she was they cremated her without the family consent, or then the family might agree to. I don't know. But that whole case is weird because her boyfriend was CIA. And she was like allegedly on the plane with a CIA spook and a pay mistress and Dorothy Hunt. And George Collins, I don't know what that was about. Was he targeted? George Collins, one of the founding members of the Congressional Black Caucus, by the way. George Collins, one of the founding members of the Congressional Black Caucus. And they made him a caucus. He founded the caucus, but they made him a caucus. You know, it's interesting how these guys died in plane crash. I talked about Mickey Leland last week. I believe I talked about Mickey Leland from Texas. Sheila Jackson Lee took his place. He was a president of the Congressional Black Caucus at one point, and he died on the side of a mountain out in, I want to say, Eastern Africa, if not mistaken. And his wife was pregnant with twins on the way. So we don't talk about Mickey Leland. So I'm saying we don't say these people names like we should. But yeah, Michelle Clark and people in Chicagoland area, y'all should know about that. I know a lot of y'all should know about what happened in Cicero with the race riot back in 51 because of her family just wanted to be in a good place. Like, you know, it reminded me what Dion said last week or last weekend about, you know, hey man, it's white with no crime. Or is it like about Colorado don't have no crime? But yeah, go to a sundown town in Colorado or Illinois. People always think about the deep South, but like they really polarized in segregation, even to this day in places up north. I mean, you go to St. Louis, you go to Detroit, you go to a lot of these so-called big northern cities, these northern plantations. It's like when Fred Hampton got killed, and they let the people in the view, the community to look at the apartment where him and Mark Clark was slaughtered by the Chicago Police Department on behalf of the FBI and the state attorney's office of Illinois. And an elder woman, a sister, elder woman, said it's just a northern lynching. And you know, she was from the South. I know she had some stories about family and loved ones being lynched and running out of the South, going to places like Chicago and Detroit. But she said this is just a northern lynching. And y'all should check out the Murder of Fred Hampton documentary from back then. It came out in the early 70s. And it was like these people following Fred Hampton around, interviewing him like the last year of his life, basically. They didn't know. I think this took months of following, because people think that Fred Hampton was older than what he was, because this movie came out. You thought he was in his 30s when they killed him. He was just 21 years old, but the government been watching. The feds is watching. Been watching Fred Hampton since he was about 14. They knew who he was early, and they targeted him, and they got him off the scene. So he wasn't even the Black Panther Party leader for barely a year, actually. You know, the Black Panther Party in Illinois was founded by a former SNCC member. Because, you know, like the Black Panthers connected with a lot of SNCC people, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee people, like Stokely Carmichael, a couple of people that was in SNCC. They kind of went to the Panther side, because if you listen to Huey P. Newton's interview he did for the Eyes on the Prize documentary, it got the whole interview. Somebody took the time to upload the whole interview he did with the producers of this great civil rights documentary called Eyes on the Prize. And Huey was talking about how they wanted to recruit SNCC activists for the Black Panther Party because they were very well educated. You know what I'm saying? He was very college educated level people. They came from very stable backgrounds, families and stuff like that. And they could help, you know, when, you know, Huey didn't learn how to read until he was an adult, basically. He was functionally illiterate for a long time. Then before he died, he got his PhD. He was a brilliant mind. It's worth listening to that interview. You know, the way he talked, he got a very distinctive voice, but man had a brilliant mind, and he killed him before he was 50. Huey had the answers, and you still can look at the 10-point platform that the Black Panthers produced as being a foundation for reparations, for getting what we need to get from the government. Because we don't know how to articulate. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have the righteous ancestors, and some of them were troubled in this lifetime. They provided the blueprint for us to get what we need to get from this so-called government, from this system. So, also, before I get out of here on that, I'm gonna play what Dick Gregory had to say about Martha Mitchell. You know, I'm glad I got these Dick Gregory archives to go through. And we're gonna play what he said about Martha Mitchell. You know, Dick got so much, he had so much information. People say, oh, he's talking about wrong thing. Yeah, but like I always tell people with Dick Gregory, he may not get you to the right house, but he'll put you in the right zip code in the right neighborhood. It's up to you to try to use your own GPS to get you to that exact house, but he'll get you in the area. He'll get you in the right area code, zip code, right neighborhood. So anyway, let's see what Dick had to say about Martha Mitchell. This is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century.
Let me say this to you. A lot of you young folks don't remember this. When Dick Nixon was the president, right?
Mm-hmm.
His attorney general was named John Mitchell. So write that down.
Right, John Mitchell.
His wife was named Martha Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knew who she was. Most folks don't know who Eric Holder's wife is.
Right.
That's how flamboyant Martha was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now hear me good now. The attorney general's name was what?
John Mitchell.
And his wife's name was what?
Martha Mitchell.
Okay. She overheard her husband and a bunch of powerful white boys in the living room. Not the living room, wherever they sip cocktails and get down and talk that white boy talk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was out and doing something, and she overheard them talking about blowing up the World Trade Building.
Mm.
The attorney general's wife heard that, huh?
Yes, sir.
She confronted him. John was under, hey, no, I wasn't talking about their business. No. This is America. If you don't do something about it, I'm going to hold a press conference. So she was getting ready to hold a press conference to tell the world. You know what happened to her?
Yeah,
She got kidnapped.
Oh, kidnapped. Okay.
Now, wait a minute now. The most powerful law person in the world is the Attorney General of the United States.
Yes, sir.
His wife is kidnapped. Now, you ready for the zinker?
Okay, I'm listening.
Do you know nobody's been arrested to this day?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Now, is it something strange you kidnapped the Attorney General's wife and nobody's been arrested, and then a couple of weeks later she died because while they had her, they injected a cancer shot in her behind. Okay?
That's Bobby Dick Gregory talk about Martha Mitchell. Now he got a couple of things off, like I said, you know, memories and stuff like that, but it wasn't the World Trade Center they was talking about. It was actually about the Watergate break-in that he was alerting to or referencing. And then also she didn't die a couple weeks later. It's several years later she died. But what happened with Martha Mitchell, if you look at that Star series with Julia Roberts, it's worth looking at. It's worth watching. She was like a yay. She was the yay of her time. She would just say things and people thought she was crazy, but she made for a good print and good television, just like Ye does in social media. See, a lot of times, and it's called the Martha Mitchell effect, when people think that you are crazy, when people make you to be crazy for telling the truth. See, what she said about Watergate ended up being true, because she used to call reporters and tell them things. And it's weird that a dude like John Mitchell will marry a woman like her, but it's like she was like a social butterfly. Like she's actually from Arkansas, was from Arkansas. She's buried in Arkansas. They still got her family home. I think it's like a historic landmark in Arkansas. I want to say Pine Bluff, if I'm not mistaken. Either Pine Bluff, somewhere in Arkansas. And so she was telling the truth. But she was kidnapped when he was attorney general, the most powerful lawman in the country, which is weird. And nobody was ever arrested. But in the show, they were trying to show there was a Secret Service that was holding her captive in her own home. So, I mean, you know, it's an inside job. It's always an inside job. But Dick brought Martha Mitchell to my attention when I first interviewed him about Martha Mitchell, so it was worth looking at. And also Dick Gregory, like I said, he helped Frank Wills. He gave him a job. He couldn't save him, but he helped him while he could. He had him working, I think, as one of his resorts that he was running out in the Bahamas or Caribbean somewhere. You can find this online. But Frank Wills, his life was over at 24. If he probably could have had a time machine at his disposal, he probably would have went back and never reported the tape on the door at the Watergate. He probably would never removed it, knowing all the hell he would catch just for doing that, because he was not trying to be no hero or no icon of the liberal left. He wasn't trying to be a media darling. He was just doing his job, making his rounds. And then he saw some funny business, and he saw that somebody put some more tape on the door. When he removed it, and then he contacted the DC police authorities, and the rest is history. So let's talk about December 8th is also the anniversary. It's the what is this? The 23rd anniversary. I can't believe time is going by so fast. It's the 23rd anniversary of the U.S. government being found guilty in the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the man formerly known as Michael King. I don't know if he ever changed his name legally, because from my understanding, his inner circle still called him Michael. And it makes sense that Martin was a Michael. Michael are extraordinary people. If you name your child Michael, know that the pressure you put on is real, because there's no such thing as a mediocre Michael in the history of the world. All Michaels are unique. You may not like them all. They're unique, extraordinary people, whether it be fictional or non-fictional Michaels. Like you got Michael Corleone, right? Godfather, The Don, right? You got Michael Myers, Halloween. You know about Mike Myers, the comedian. Austin Powers, yeah, baby, yeah, and all that crap. Yeah, Shrek and all that. But also Michael Myers, Halloween. I see a lot of people be doing TikTok and real videos, and around Halloween they love to use the Michael Myers character to do like all these goofy things that's very funny and entertaining. But Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson, Michaels are unique human beings. So when you name your baby Michael, know that you put a lot of pressure. Under pressure, do. Put a lot of pressure on your baby. Michaels are extraordinary. Michelangelo. So, well, thank people for donating. Thank you so much, good brother. I'm trying to give y'all some shine. Okay. Thank you, brother Abdullah. I appreciate you. We love you madly. Thank you so much for tuning in or tuning out. To tune in to get in where you fit in, man. Much appreciated. What's up, my good brother John? Thank you for being on this live. We love you madly. Great supporter of the platform. Appreciate you, brother. See, the Black Gorilla family, that's what they tell us. But you also know what's interesting about the Black Gorilla family? Wasn't one of the prominent Panther leaders the brother George Jackson, the Dragon, George Jackson? Was he a founder and a leader of the Black Gorilla family? What happened to him? Soledad brother. What happened to George Jackson? How did get rid of George Jackson? At the age of 29, and they took out his brother who was trying to free the Soledad brothers at the age of 17. Who is Angela Davis? All that type of stuff, right? But George Jackson, that's ironic. What they say, we don't really know. I don't really know how they took out Huey. They took him out though. And Huey didn't even make it to 50, man. I think he was like 49 when he got killed. Was he 49 or 48 or something like that? I'm gonna let y'all look it up and correct me in the chats, because I ain't gonna look that up. Y'all some homework to do. Thank you so much, Curly Bessart. We love you madly. I hope I said Curly Bessart. Right. And we love you madly. However you pronounce your last name. We love you madly. Trying to see. No, not to my knowledge. I thought about that today, actually. I said, it's interesting, because I'm passionate about educating our young people. And people ask me, do you have any kids? I said, no. They said, that's why you passionate about educating our kids. you don't have any, they're a headache, they'll bless him. You can't, universe soul God, whatever's meant for me, I believe will be for me. I don't know. And I always advise people, it's been a tough 2 years for a lot of us. I know I have lost a lot of loved ones and friends. And like, if you live long enough, I'm 42 now, but if you live long enough, all that crap you did when you was young, it tends to catch up with you. So be better stewards of your health. You can't depend on these people to take care of you. We don't take care of yourself. Take care of thyself. And like the kids, we'll see. If I live long enough, we'll see what happens. Not against having kids at all. Not at all. But it wasn't my time to have them. It's interesting too. I think about my classmates, people I went to school with, whether it be high school and college, they got grandkids now. Some of these guys and girls, they got grandkids. I don't have no kids. So. But I do what I can. Yes, Michael from Good Times. Great example. Interesting character, right? Interesting. A man child, baby revolutionary. Yes, Michael from Good Times. Great example. Main man Dev, thank you so much. Salute to you, brother. I got it right. Thank you. And thank you for staying around, not cursing me out. I appreciate it. So you said somebody said he was only 47. I mean, that's young. You got thinking about what he was against. People underappreciate, we undervalue those that fight for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Huey, the way he died, he should have got the George Floyd treatment as far as I'm concerned, but we don't treat our real people, because George Floyd, I hate the way he died. He's not a hero to me. He is not on the same level of Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and Huey Newton. He's not on that level to me. That's just me. I'm looking at, I'm not judging nobody, but the things they said about what the brother did in his earlier life. They say he held a gun against the stomach of a pregnant woman, allegedly doing a home invasion. I'm not gonna get into that, but at the same time, Malcolm Little was Detroit Red, and he came Malcolm X and the El-Haj Malik Shabazz, right? And the brother George Floyd, I don't know how old he was. Was he in his 40s or something? He never became somebody like that became like a servant of the community in the way of a Malcolm X. I don't believe he had that type of transformation. I'm not judging him, but there's so many people that have done, like, people talk about Shanquilla Robinson. That's unfortunate what happened to her, but we don't even show really any real concern about Malcolm Latif Shabazz, Malcolm's grandson, what happened to him in Mexico. I mean, they say they arrested these people and put them on trial, and they're serving almost 30 years in prison, but how do we really know? Because the media don't even take an interest. And then it was like a black media, the Amsterdam News, was a very famous, legendary newspaper up in Harlem. They the one that told us that Malcolm Shabazz was killed in Mexico City. Officially, it wasn't NBC or CBS. Not saying that white ISIS, but I'm saying, like, this is a grandson of a prominent American figure. He didn't get the JFK Jr. treatment. JFK Jr. dad was, of course, JFK, the president of the United States. When Malcolm was around, a lot of people around the world, especially those in the black diaspora, the African diaspora, whatever you want to call it, they saw Malcolm as the president of Black America, as the representative and spokesperson of Black America. They poisoned him twice while he was out there in Africa and all that stuff. They had to pump his stomach a couple of times, from my understanding, with Malcolm. And you had people that were UN ambassadors from Africa quoting him on the floor of the UN. And his plan was to bring up the human rights violation charges against the United States at the United Nations. And they took him out of here. They wouldn't even let him go to France. France, send him back to England. They sent him back to America because the French government was told that he will be assassinated soon. So there wasn't no Elijah Muhammad. You think Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, had the power to deny Malcolm entry into France? Come on now. So you got back over here, and my understanding, Malcolm contacted the U.S. State Department saying that his life was in danger, from what I read. And James Farmer met with Lyndon B. Johnson, who was president at the time, and Lyndon B. Johnson asked him something like, did they ever find out what happened to that Malcolm fellow? And you the president of the United States, you got the Secret Service, you got the CIA, the FBI. You mean you don't know what happened to brother Malcolm? And James Farmer was saying that he was killed because of an international drug trafficking conspiracy. That folks connected to maybe the French Connection. Took out Malcolm for messing up the drug trade in the inner cities of America, because Malcolm wanted to clean up house. He wanted to get the drugs out of Harlem and places like Chicago and Philly and stuff like that. He was anti-drug. So they would mess up the drug trade business. Because, you know, it's not just the traffickers like the Corsican Mafia and all this stuff. It's also the United States government that had a hand in putting drugs in our communities. You just look at Gary Webb and his Dark Alliance news article expose. And they said Gary Webb suicided himself. He shot himself twice in the head. It was back in 2004, I believe. But look at the movie Kill the Messenger, because they'll tell you the truth in these Hollywood movies, because you got to look at who's financing these movies and what the objectives are involved. You look at who make these TV shows. Like how can the Simpsons predict the future? How did they know that Donald Trump was going to be president and Prince going to die in the elevator? How did the Comedy Central show know that Kobe was going to die in a helicopter crash, right? You know, we living in a matrix. Some people think this is a simulation, that this is not real. We're just avatars for somebody else. It's a game. What Baba Dick would say. Well, I always tell people, for those who love sports, every day is a game 7. This could be your last game. Today or tonight could be your last game. So every day you live is a game 7. And y'all want to look at sports. Y'all need game 7s in the World Series, NBA playoffs. Thank you, Sister Tiffany Gibbs. We love you madly. Said, love your channel. Very informative. Thank you for that donation. So y'all got to send a cash app. You know how to do all that. Thank y'all for super chatting me up here too. YouTube, they like some landlords like to take a lot of your money from you. But you know, I appreciate everything I can get. So oh yeah, keep moving, man. That treadmill is a godsend. I know I utilize the I love running on the treadmill, man. It's like, it was weird because even thinking about it recently, like with Deion Sanders and people really going in on Deion, and I don't really mind people having an opinion about what Deion should have or shouldn't have done. I think it's very good. Deion's been very good for HBCU football. How many folks really took an interest in HBCU football before Deion became the head coach of Jackson State? They got their money's worth. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he don't owe anybody anything, explanation really why, except for the players who came to play for him and their families, perhaps, and you know, in the college. Well, other than that, I mean, everybody's like, oh, he shouldn't have did this. Look, Deion almost lost his life. You know, he had his 2 toes, his big toe and his second toe off his left foot was amputated. He had parts of his left leg sliced off, like somebody was cutting up a steak. You look at his leg, you know, his daughter did something on social media where he was working out or whatever, I think. She showed how his leg like a turkey leg. This man is a very prideful man. He's a Leo. Very prideful man. This man, one of the greatest athletes in the history of the world, not just in football, but in the history of the world. He takes pride in his look and his image. And I guess you call him a very vain man. But like he said, he wear his confidence like cologne. You want to call that arrogance, so be it. But I mean, he almost lost his life last year. And he probably had to come to Jesus moment. And like the thing about Deion, he's a public figure, and people like to project things on public figures and of whatever. You know, he hopes and aspirations. I mean, y'all made him into like a Christ figure. Y'all talking about his language, but he's like all these coaches like that. The best of the best. They like used car salesmen. They got to sell you on some stuff. And he's a great salesman. So yeah, I'm an endorser of the treadmill. Like I like to run on the treadmill several times a week. Sometimes I run anywhere from 4 to 5 miles on the treadmill, and I love working out in the gym. And also, I probably burn more calories just by dancing. Sometimes I'll just be on the treadmill dancing. I'll stop the treadmill, dance, and then kept on running 1 or 2 more miles. So it's good. Life is about movement. But when my mobility was hampered by the hole in my foot, I actually had a hole in my foot. Around this time last year, I actually had a gaping hole in the bottom of my left foot for most of the year. And it was crazy what I was doing because I had that hole, right? It was trying to heal, and I run about 3 or 4 miles in the gym at the earlier part of the year. I'm saying, damn, let me just manage this. And then I'm looking at this by April. I said, damn, it's still a hole. You know, this was like February when the hole first appeared. Cause I did something I shouldn't have did. Caught myself picking out a callus, whatever, and just got worse. Could have healed right if I stayed off my foot, but you know, it's like it was a gaping hole in my foot. And like sometimes like it was like Emmett Till's face after he got pulled out the dang water in the Tallahatchie River. My bottom of my foot like Emmett Till's face. And I was looking at this. I'll never show y'all the pictures. I took pictures of it. And I was like, man, what is wrong with me, man? Well, like, why I'm gonna say I'm just managing. Yeah, I said, I'm gonna just deal with this for a couple of days, and then a couple of days turn to weeks, and weeks turn to months. So I dealt with it for most of the year, this hole in my foot. And actually, I got it healed in January of this year. But then I had other, you know, it's always something. When it rains, it pours, right? It's always like you fix one thing with your house or your car, there's something else, you know, acts up. And then why I'm telling people, be better stewards of your health. I'm not going to tell people, you know, how to eat to live or how to work, because our food source is compromised. See, it's like you talking about some Nazis. They play these games with people's lives like Hunger Games. They want to make you so frustrated, make you want to holler the way they do my life. Like, you know, Marvin Gaye's second wife just passed away. I think she passed away yesterday. Marvin Gaye, she wrote the book, the one he met when she was 17. The song, he did the song Let's Get It On about her. Let's get it on. And she was like 17 when they started having a relationship. But her folks was okay with, you know, her messing around with Marvin. I think Marvin was 34 at the time. But anyway, she passed on. She wrote a tell-all book not too long ago. I'm about to just read. And Marvin Gaye is actually one of my cousins. And Dick Gregory was close to Marvin Gaye. Dick actually did a eulogy for Marvin Gaye when he passed on back in '84. But anyway, yeah, just take care of yourself, man. It's always, like I said, I'm just dealing with stuff. And, you know, you get older too. Like I said, you live long enough, things tend to catch up with you. So God be the glory. Yes, Sister Spark, I agree. They need to leave Dion alone. I know you've been calling. I'm going to catch up. People been calling me. So I'll catch up with y'all. But Dion, I mean, he a big boy. He can handle himself. And like I said, I don't know what God has in store for Dion. People, they reacting too soon. Let stuff settle. Dion, like, you know, he don't have to answer to me on anybody. And like I said, he put HBCU football back on people's minds. And like, they can never take away what he did at Jackson. His contribution, because he's not only did he did black football, he's at Mississippi. You know, you could argue the greatest football players came out of Mississippi and out of HBCUs. You know, Walter Payton, along with some other Hall of Famers, went to Jackson State back in the day. Walter Payton, a lot of people think he's the greatest running back, the greatest football player of all time. Then you got Mississippi Valley State. Jerry Rice is from Mississippi Valley State. He's a Mississippi boy. Some people think Jerry Rice is the greatest football player, let alone wide receiver. He got records that would never be broken, probably. You know, he was a freak of nature, Jerry Rice. And y'all got mad at him for doing Popeye's chicken commercial. But y'all acted crazy on them chicken sandwiches not too long ago. But y'all were mad at Jerry Rice for doing Popeye's chicken. Y'all said he cooning and all. I mean, come on, man. You don't know this man's financial situation. How is that cooning? It's like, it reminds me like when MC Hammer was really popular at his height. Everybody got the Hammer pants and all that stuff. And he's doing like all types of commercials for things. And he's doing movie soundtracks like the Addams Family, all this stuff. And all these rappers saying he's selling out. I can remember the rappers who said he was selling out. Ice Cube, Ice-T, and LL Cool J. What they doing now? What Ice Cube and Ice-T? Then Ice-T do a song called Cop Killer Now. What he play every night for almost over a decade. I mean, how long he been playing on Law and Order, Ice-T? I don't even look at Law and Order. Is he on a Law and Order playing a cop? And he had a song called Cop Killer with his group Body Count. What about Ice Cube? Look at all the 3-on-3 League. Look at all the movies he done. Look at all the stuff he done. What about LL Cool J? You know what I'm saying? But they was talking about Hammer, but Hammer had the blueprint. Like they talk about Dion, but Dion got the blueprint. So I'm not going, you know, whatever. Anyway, I'm so far behind on what I'm trying to talk about. Let me see what I said I was going to talk about in this show. What was this? What was the stuff I was going to talk about? What was the stuff I was going to talk about? Oh, yeah, we talking about Dr. King, right? I'm going to make that show about Dr. King. I'm going to make it short about the good doctor, the Right Reverend King. what I was saying about Dr. King, like, yeah, December 8th, 1999, U.S. Civil Court in Memphis, they found the U.S. government was guilty in being complicit in the murder of Dr. King. We talk about this on my platform all the time about the murder of Dr. King. The gun that killed Dr. King could be traced back to the FBI when it comes to chain of possession. The gun that killed Dr. King could be traced back to the FBI. The feds is watching. The feds is watching, man, like Tupac said, right? So I remember somebody said I was at a family function last year in Kansas City, and somebody said, "Here come bad news," and people started laughing. And I had a cousin who actually did some time. He was in and out of prison. I guess at one point said, "Man, when you come home, man, when you finish your bid?" I said, "Man, I've been graduated from college. I never went to prison." They say I'm bad news because I be telling uncomfortable truths. I'm the dude that tell you about the facts that they don't want to hear and listen to. But I'm bad news because I bring good information. That's why I'm bad news. But that's how our black folks think. And then we talk about we love, like, oh, I love Brother Ron. I mean, I love him, man. He was a great man. I said, yeah, but he can't hear that now. Brother Ron can't hear you say that now. You didn't get my flowers while I was walking around this month. I'm gonna take my own flowers. Forget y'all. I'm gonna grow my own garden, plant my own seeds, and I'm gonna honor myself. Like I said, you better take care of yourself. Be better stewards of yourself. But but yeah. But Dr. King, they found and they did they blacked out the information. Like the people in America didn't even know that the U.S. government was found guilty of killing King because it was a media blackout. Now it was a local news guy, a white man from Arkansas, that was there every day during that civil trial, reporting in the news. This was a white man from Arkansas, from Jerry Jones' Candyland. This is a white man from Candyland that took more of an interest in what happened to Dr. King than so-called woke black people and black leaders and leading blacks. And he was there every day. He reported himself, and he passed on, had some chronic health issues. It's like, I don't know what really happened to him, but like it's implied that he ended it himself. He ended it himself because he was discovered at home. But I can't recall the white man's name at this time, but he's an unsung hero of covering that civil trial involving the King family. And I think Lord Jowers, the restaurant owner, but because James Earl Ray never had an official trial, and they let him die on April 23rd, 1998. The state let James Earl Ray die. The reason why I could say that they killed him is because he needed like either a liver or a kidney transplant, and the state of Tennessee didn't want to pay for it, but I think Dr. William Pepper and some other people was able to get sponsors and donors, people like to pay for the expenses of him getting that transplant, but he had to go to Pittsburgh or somewhere in Pennsylvania, I believe. I think it was Pittsburgh. And they had everything set up. All they needed was approval from the state government of Tennessee for him to be transported, because they didn't have to pay for transportation. The donors and people who arranged for him to get the transplant was paying for everything, and the state of Tennessee turned it down, so they just let him die. They let James Earl die, and they let everything that he knew die with him. This is April 23rd, 1998. The reason why I can remember that is because it's my birthday, April 23rd. But I didn't know he died around that time, my birthday. When I had my birthday, I was 18. I wasn't like that woke. Even though I was a tour guide at the Civil Rights Museum when I was a younger person, but with my mom, a volunteer tour guide with Dr. Callie Hurd. But this should never be forgotten about black people. Because my thing is weird that y'all get excited when the FBI get involved in anything. It's like with the Kendrick Johnson thing down in Valdosta, Georgia. Now, allegedly, it was two white brothers. The one, I guess he played football with on the team because Kendrick was a football player. Their dad was GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which is the FBI. So people looked at his sons as being the prime suspects. One son went on to play college football, from my understanding, the one that might have had the real beef with Kendrick. But y'all, it's a documentary came out not too long ago about the Kendrick Johnson case. But when y'all get all excited, FBI involved. Y'all know about the FBI as it relates to Dr. King and Jacob Hoover, COINTELPRO, and Fred Hampton and all that. Y'all get excited when the FBI said, we're gonna investigate what happened to Shanquilla Robinson. The FBI got involved. Y'all on social media, man, yeah, the FBI. I said, y'all crazy. The FBI was founded to destroy black people. I mean, and it's not allegedly, I'm gonna say allegedly, but you look at what the FBI did to Marcus Garvey. With Dr. King, they suggested he should commit suicide. One of J. Edgar Hoover's top commanders, William Sullivan, that's his name, the one who wrote that poison pen letter to Dr. King about you should kill yourself. He had a change of heart. He wanted to testify before Congress about the dirty tricks of the FBI. You know that? Don't y'all know that the FBI created a Black Panther coloring book, and they mailed it throughout the country to white people homes so they can have a fear of the Black Panther Party. Look up Black Panther coloring book FBI. I did a show a little bit on that, but I'm saying the dirty tricks of the man. Now I told you with the Watergate crash, who was the first responders? The FBI. So I mean, y'all, you know, anyway. And I think I said no, but I just want to always make note of that, the Dr. King situation. I think it's important to talk about stuff like that. Our people, we keep on talking about Dr. King. With this, Dr. King was handled by them people. They did handle him. Like I talk about the Jewish lawyer Stanley Levison. Like y'all don't know about him, but that was like when they're trying to say, well, Dr. King was a communist, it's because of his Jewish handler Stanley Levison connection to the communist movement. I don't even think Dr. King was a Prince Hall Mason. And a lot of black preachers didn't care for Dr. King. You know, that's well documented as well, too. So it's a lot of things about Michael King that a lot of us get confused. And it's not because of us getting confused, but doing the research, and you got folks that made their name off of Dr. King legacy, like, you know, the biographer of King, David Garrow. He's trying to destroy Dr. King right now. He's the guy that helped the Muhammad, bro, whatever his name is, from DC. They did that Malcolm X, Who Killed Malcolm X limited series on Netflix. David Garrow, who's a professor, I believe, out of Pittsburgh, but he wrote all these books about Dr. King's legacy, won awards, made his name off of it. Now it's his business to destroy the legacy of Dr. King, because now they're going to drop that his so-called secret files from the National Archives in 2027. So they're trying to really destroy Dr. King. But I say American loves is degenerates. Look at the people on the money. Look at Andrew Jackson. Look at Thomas Jefferson, Abraham. These people are degenerates. So I mean, Dr. King fits right in, right? If you're going to expose King, I mean, he fits right in with the narrative. JFK, all them guys. FDR was doing coke and stuff for his sinuses. That's the president. He was doing coke for his sinuses, and his grandfather was one of the biggest drug dealers in world history. Got the Chinese hooked on opium, made a killing off the opium wars. That's Warren Delano Jr. That's Frank Roosevelt's grandfather. That's how he made the family fortune. Because a lot of people believe that Franklin Roosevelt, one of the reasons why he wanted to fight World War II was to get back control of the Golden Triangle, get back in control of the drug trade for his family. So a lot of people that found this country in these Ivy League schools were drug dealers. Even with the HBCUs, a lot of these HBCUs are founded by white people. And y'all getting upset about them. They don't allow us to run anything but our mouths and run for yards in football games and up down the court. Black folks don't run nothing but our legs and our mouths when it comes to this system. Y'all mad at them for all the wrong reasons. That's what I'm saying, man. We don't run nothing. So how is it black pride and black owned? We don't own nothing. Like you saying you own a home. The government could do eminent domain. They could take your home. You paid all these property taxes over the years. You paid out the mortgage, and you still don't own what you say you own. It's an illusion. It's a trick. It's a dirty, dirty trick. Like Donald Trump told y'all it was rigged. So let me see. Do this. Cause I got my receipts, man. I come with receipts. So get this book here. The Plot to Kill King. As Dr. William Pepper's magnum opus is, like he wrote 3 books and this is like the third book. It's like that's his third Star Wars, his third Godfather 3. But he wrote it's like basically like a revision of the first 2 books about the King assassination he wrote over the years. And it's like they're playing with my Wi-Fi. These folks like to play with me. But I actually met Dr. William Pepper. I interviewed him once. I need to interview him again, but I met him at the Civil Rights Museum. And like they didn't even promote it really. It was weird. The Civil Rights Museum, they had him in the auditorium talking about his book, The Plot to Kill King. And he had bodyguards around him. I guess he was in fear of his life, had his young family, had him a young daughter. But he was cool, man. And I guess he signed my book. But read the book, The Plot to Kill King by Dr. William Pepper. Now, he was a friend of Dr. King in life. And then he wanted to find out what really happened to his friend Martin. And so he was the one that advised he was James Earl Ray, I think one of his last lawyers. He helped to arrange that organ transplant thing, and they turned it down. The state of Tennessee basically assassinated James Earl Ray. But Dr. William Pepper helped the King family with the civil lawsuit that revealed on December 8th, 1999, that the U.S. government was complicit in killing King. And so he called out names. He called the Right Reverend Billy Cowles, Billy Cowles, who's on tape saying he got to wait to get a clear shot. Now, Billy Cowles was, from my understanding, reading the book and research, he was a Memphis police informant. And they actually had his wake at the Civil Rights Museum back in May of 2016. I went to his wake. And I actually met Billy Cowles when I came back home from DC for Obama's inauguration. They had his documentary screening at the Peabody Hotel. I think it was a Peabody Hotel, room 306, a witness, whatever, where he talked about the last hour he spent with Dr. King, Dr. King's last hour. He actually didn't tell the truth, because you could read Ralph Abernathy's King's Best Friend and Right-Hand Man book. They was not sitting in the room for an hour cracking preacher's joke. Matter of fact, the last hour of King's life, his brother was in town. I think A.D. King was in town. They killed A.D. King. The next year, they found him in the swimming pool. They said he drowned, but he could swim. And that's another story. They tried to get Dr. King in Louisville, where Muhammad Ali's from. But they got exposed by a white cop, exposed what they were trying to do to Dr. King. And they had the police involved. They had elements of the Louisville Police Department involved. So this is also the same Louisville where the great lawyer Alberta Odell Jones was murdered. Her body was thrown into the river. She's like in her early 30s. And they need to solve what happened to her, because it was a friend that lured her out that night that she got killed. You talk about Shanquilla Robinson. It's always an inside job. It was one of her friends that got her to come out, because they kept on saying, you gotta be careful who you call your friend, because that made her feel guilty for being successful. Because Alberto Dale Jones was not only a successful lawyer, but a community advocate and an organizer. And also, she was the first woman prosecutor in Jefferson County. She was over the domestic abuse department of the courts. So she was sending powerful white men to prison for beating up on their women. So she made all types of enemies. She helped desegregate Louisville. She was Muhammad Ali when he was Cassius Clay. She was his lawyer. Make sure you get the best deal from the Louisville group, the white businessman who made Cassius Clay. It was white men behind Muhammad Ali's career. Like he said, he didn't start having problems until he got with the Nation of Islam, when Elijah Muhammad's son took over managing his karate. Herbert Muhammad. Anyway, I'm getting out, but yeah, Dr. William Pepper, he came just back in 2017, and they won't let people record the presentation. So Sarai Museum, they always have a problem with me recording stuff, which is weird. These folks are making good money. A lot don't even realize that I used to volunteer when the museum first opened back in the early 90s as a kid, as an elementary school kid. I used to volunteer with my mom as a tour guide. And I knew the co-founder, De'Armond Bailey. He was a great friend of my family. He passed on. His birthday was November 29th, but they would treat me like trash. Like, oh, you can't record this. You can't be here. And I had actually, I was at a meeting this past March with Larry Payne's sister and her family. And I spoke to the new president of the museum, Russ Wigington. and he used to be over at Rhodes College, so he knew me from that. And I got up to speak because they didn't want me at the meeting. Like the family had to request my presence. Carolyn Payne, Larry Payne's sister, requested my presence because they said, "Well, what Ron at?" And like I was texting, I said, "They didn't want me back there." They said, "Come on back." So I came back there. You had the young. This is a beautiful black woman, young sister, beautiful sister, but she was trying to disrespect me. I said, they told me to come back here. Larry Payne's family want me back here. Larry Payne was the guy that was killed in the aftermath of Dr. King's last march. He was just 16 years old, killed by a white police officer, L.D. Jones. I think his name was L.D. Jones, in front of witnesses in the projects. He was just 16. They got footage of him being carried away into the ambulance. And that was her brother. He wasn't doing nothing. The police shot him in cold blood. And like he had a knife. They never recovered a knife or weapon. Or they'd say they did. It got thrown in the Mississippi River, supposedly. But anyway, I just said, you know what? I don't like how I've been treated over the years at the museum, because me and my mom used to volunteer here. And a lot of y'all just have been here for like a year or 2 years, and I get treated like I'm a nobody. And I'm actually doing the work that y'all should be doing in terms of documenting the history of the people in this city, in this community, who have gave and sacrificed for the cause of helping our people. So that's how they treat me in Memphis, man. They don't respect me. I'm like Rodney Dangerfield. But people know who I am, but they don't respect me. That's why I say, I'm like, Dion showed me the light. He said, show me the door. He showed me the light by showing me the door. It's time for me to get out of here. But anyway, now off this live right away. But I did enough on King. I think I did. Yeah, I'm trying to keep this 45 minutes. Well, I haven't seen Emancipation yet. He's offering too much free on Apple TV if you watch the movie, because on Will Smith, I don't have a problem with the slave movies. You need a balance. It's like what Jesse Jackson said about Amos and Andy. It's not that it's necessarily a bad show, but it's the only black show on television. You need more examples of black life diversity. The slave movies have their place, as y'all call them, and we got to deal with that, because this is why we can't get reparations, because we don't want to deal with that. Now, also in Emancipation, it's not just a slave movie. This is based on that famous photo of the black man with the whips on his back, right? All them scars on his back from getting whippings and lashings. He actually fought for his liberation. He was a part of the Union Army, a U.S. color troop. And a lot of us don't appreciate the history of the U.S. color troops. That's why I think it's sad that people think it's okay to bash black men, like black women, black professional women. And we're going to talk about that with this Georgia thing, how we think it's okay to bash black men when it was black men sacrificing and fighting for their liberation that freed everybody, gave everybody the right to vote. Before black men enlisted in the Union Army back in the Civil War, the only people that could vote were all white men. Now, when they made the Constitution and stuff like that, only white men who owned property could vote. But when Andrew Jackson became president, he gave the franchise to all white men. The guy on the $20 bill, he gave the franchise to all white men. So it was up to the black man to free us all. And it's like right now what's happening is black men. We got to free everybody. We don't want to be the hero a lot of times. We don't want to be no super Negro or magical Negro. But it has fallen on to us brothers, the men among us, to free us all. And that's the price to pay. So I think people should give that movie a watch, or just learn about the history of the guy that Will Smith is playing the movie or is based on. I don't think you should forget that. I think that's the problem with our people, that we don't take pride in who we are, because there's stuff that I'm doing right now in my life. I had people in my family already did before me. I didn't know they existed until recently. Like I talk about Julian Mayfield, like my love for Malcolm X and Robert F. Williams, not realizing that my cousin was one of the people that got Robert F. Williams out of this country to keep from being lynched by the FBI. Got him to Canada so he could go to Cuba, Radio Free Dixie. I didn't know that was my cousin. He did Uptight, a movie that dealt with the assassination of Dr. King. They dealt with informants. This is back in, I think it came out in December of 68. Ruby Dee was his leading lady, and Ruby Dee was fine, and she was in her 40s back then. But Junior Mayfield, that's my cousin. Malcolm X, he's come to Ghana. He'll stay at his home in Ghana. His wife was the personal physician of Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. Y'all want to talk about Dion, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, whatever you want to call him. He taught at HBCUs for most of his career. This man was the first black person to get a PhD from Harvard, not Howard, but Harvard. And Harvard didn't think he was good enough to teach there. This man is the father of American sociology. Check out his work, The Philadelphia Negro. He's the father of American sociology, one of the founding members of the NAACP, first editor of the Crisis magazine for the NAACP. Brilliant mind. A lot of times he was misunderstood. You know, he was a Pan-Africanist, but also he undermined Garvey, but he lived long enough to regret certain actions. Because like he said, when he was in his birthday in China back in the late 50s, he said, I did all this stuff for my country, but they just know me as a you know what, a nagger. This is a 90-something-year-old black man saying my country don't even respect me enough to give me my due. You know, I'm just known as another nagger. And so he died in Ghana, but my cousin's wife, my cousin by marriage, Dr. Anna Livia Cordero, was a personal physician of Dr. Du Bois, and she was a friend of Malcolm X, and she saved the life of Dr. Maya Angelou's son when he got in a horrific motorcycle accident over in Africa. So this is one person in my family. And I said about Marvin Gaye. So I mean, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, there's a lot of people on all sides of my family that I'm connected to, but we all kissing cousins. It's not just me. Like Dr. Randy Short said, he related to everybody, but it's not just me. We all related to everybody's somebody. We all related. We all connected, but we need to shake up no family trees and pass on their legacy so we have something to stand on. White folks don't give a damn if it's true or not. You know, when Braveheart movie came out with Mel Gibson, I mean, every white person I knew said it was related to William Braveheart. I don't know if it's true or not. It could be. I don't know. But when that movie came, it was a sense of pride. And white folks will fight on a lie. Wars are started on rumors and lies all the time. So we got to take more pride in that heritage, because there's a lot of great stories in the so-called slave movies that don't get. It's slave movies that need to be told. I'm talking about slave insurrections and everything. And we just gloss over because we let the white man define our reality. We let the white man define our past. We let the white man define our imagination. We got to get out of that mindset. Because even with HBCUs, it's a trick bag, because you look at who founded HBCUs. With a few exceptions, because like Mary Bethune actually founded Bethune-Cookman College with her own money, with little money in the bank, staring down the Klan. Why not tell the story of how she founded Bethune-Cookman College in Florida back in the day, when she had to stare down, her and a bunch of black girls, stare down the Ku Klux Klan in Florida. You know, they were using babies, black babies, as alligator bait in Florida. You know what I'm saying? Before they were throwing ballots and in the swamps, they were throwing black babies in the swamps for alligator bait. So she had the audacity to stare down the Klan and create that school with money out of her bank account, not that much, almost like $1 in a dream, literally. And it was founded by her. Booker T. Washington did not found Tuskegee. He was appointed as the director of Tuskegee, but the state of Alabama actually founded Tuskegee Institute. And Booker T is from Hampton University, but a lot of these HBCUs were founded by white folks that had mulatto kids. They had mixed children. They wanted mixed children to be educated. Like these Ivy League colleges was founded by white men who wanted their dumb sons to be educated, like a la George W. Bush. A legacy. Y'all talking about affirmative action. Ain't no affirmative action like white privilege. I'm sorry, I didn't go on and on and on and on and on. Thank you. So I think so on for the 30. We love you madly on the cash out. Soon so on. I don't know, man. I just hope God bless you. You know my heart is in the right place. I appreciate it. All you folks that donate, and will donate later on. But okay. What else? Yeah, let's talk about what happened down in Georgia with the Georgia Werewolf. Warnock, they say he won, right? But they don't really talk about how much he went by. And Georgia is interesting. You know, Warnock is now, he's the first black U.S. senator from Georgia. You know, he won a runoff before that because he ran the first time to replace another person that was resigning because of health issues. But he won another runoff against Herschel Walker. A lot of y'all like to joke on Herschel Walker. I don't think he's as stupid as he's been portrayed to be. He could have won. Yes, he gave a lot of ammunition to the mainstream media, but y'all don't understand what they do to people, how they portray people. Like, let's think about if you ran for office like that, like a high office like that. They'll go all through your background. Think about all the stuff y'all be saying in social media, or if you say around your people and stuff like that. Think about people recording you while you dancing or doing all types of crazy stuff. Because there's no such thing as privacy anymore. People always talking about some agent. The real agent is social media. The real agent provocateur is Fedbook, Snitchagram, Snitch Chat, Informer, or Twitter. Social media is the new agent provocateur. You don't have to worry about no William O'Neill, no Gene Roberts, or even an Ernest Withers infiltrating your organization. Because y'all tell everything anyway. Y'all oversharing anyway. But what I'm saying is that Herschel was made like a buffoon on purpose. And his son helped. And it said to me that his son would go out his way to destroy his father like that. That's still your blood, man. I know loyalty has an expiration date. I don't know all the hell he went through on the Herschel being his father, but you know, for you to even work with them like that to destroy your father, it just hurts your legacy too. You know, and people want to blame Trump. What's the problem? Trump is not the problem. Trump is a solution to what ails a lot of what's going on. And they don't make their money off the solutions in the system. They make their money by perpetuating a problem. So that's the problem that we don't realize. That either one of them, they don't mean us no good. And I'm not even saying Trump is a savior, but people got to see why are they bashing this man so hard. They just bully Trump. They just been bullying Trump. First, he was a media darling. Now he's a pariah. And he's Trump, just Trump. Then like that, they overblown the MAGA and NAGA dinner at Mar-a-Lago. Well, MAGA meet NAGA at Mar-a-Lago. They trying to destroy him through that. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. You know, how people see their so-called electoral politics. It's not even about the issues. It's more so, can I have a chicken dinner with this guy? Can I have a drink with her? If I was on the side of the road and my car tire blown out, will he help me fix the tire? Y'all like even basing like, so what are, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not about real issues when it comes to electoral politics. It's about, oh, I think they like me. I think they like me. Oh, I think they like me. I like the way he wear his hair. I like how she wear her suit. Now, it's all types of weird stuff that people make these so-called most important election of our lifetime decisions on. I mean, it's not that important because I don't know if they really count the votes. I really don't. I know y'all stay in line for hours and they promise y'all free Chick-fil-A and turnip greens, and you know, y'all vote these people in, not hold them accountable for anything because you don't have an agenda to begin with. Don't even know these people to begin with. You probably know your garbage man or mailman better than you know the people that are gonna hold these offices. They're gonna make these life and death decisions over the quality of your life. So I don't trust the Georgia votes. I don't trust none of these votes. Donald Trump, a lot of the people that he did endorse did win their offices, but he was like local, state elections, local offices. He endorsed a lot of people over the country, but the narrative they want to run with is the high profile campaigns or election that his people fell short. Like even lady named Carrie Lake. I don't know if she lost that really. I don't know if Dr. Oz lost in Pennsylvania. That's what they tell us. Matter of fact, let me play this clip from Bobby Dick Gregory. You know, Bobby Dick Gregory actually ran for president of the United States. He didn't run for the nomination from the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. He actually directly ran for the presidency of the United States. And y'all should do yourself a service and check out some of the interviews he did back in the day of a younger Dick Gregory running for president. You know, he also ran for mayor of Chicago. The FBI tried to kill Dick Gregory using the mob. We talked about that. He talked about this on my show. But I want to play a clip about Bobby Dick Gregory talking about how he got 9 million votes in Pennsylvania during the 68 presidential campaign. He got 9 million votes and they took it back. They said it was some type of robotic era, something like that. But he'll talk about it, and people say that's an urban legend. It's not an urban legend. I have actually found newspaper articles from that time of November 68 that talked about the error that was made in awarding Dick Gregory 9 million votes. So we're gonna play that. I think I'm making a good time. I hope so. For the love of God. Because his brother Ron is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. That's News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Okay.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News, News Free Dixie for the 21st century.
Here's the way that Trump and Bernie Sanders was able to do the crap they said they're able to do. I ran for president of the United States as a write-in in 1968. That night, Hillary, Bernie, Trump, New York Times, Washington Post, and all you thugs, check out one of the main papers, same garbage, in the history of the planet, the Wall Street Journal. So this is not Dick Gregory telling you this. Check out Wall Street Journal. Ran this story 4 days after the election of 1963. And it said to the world on November the 4th, I'm sorry, 1968.
Yes, sir.
November the 4th, not 63. November the 4th, 1968. All the polling places that took up data had to be shut down because it showed Dick Gregory had been elected president of the United States. And they did this because in the state of Pennsylvania, the computers gave me 9 million votes out of Pennsylvania. And it showed a trend. Now, let me tell you all, truth ain't never had to be validated by your ignorance. But let me say this. The story ran 3 days later, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The Wall Street Journal, Friday, November the 7th, 1968, the story ran. There was a mistake made. Computers goof showed Dick Gregory with 9 million votes out of the state of Pennsylvania, so they had to shut all the computers down. Because the presumptive president of the United States, it wasn't the primary, showed. That's what they're doing now. And that's what you deserve. To own slaves, to do the stuff you do now, dropping bombs on little children and stuff. And so that's how you can see Bernie Sanders. Nobody talks about Ben and Jerry. Well, millions is funneled through there for him, none but a thug and a punk. That's how that thug can do everything backwards.
And that was Bobby Dick Gregory from Beyond the Grave. We was at Howard University. Not Howard, but we was at near Howard University at the Sankofa Cafe. Sankofa Books and Cafe in Howard. It's back in late summer. I want to say like I think it was August, like late July or early August, because it's right around the time my grandmother passed up in Saginaw. She passed on August the 3rd, and I did that interview a couple of days before she passed. And Bobby Dick was in rare form. Always interesting, but there are newspaper articles that talked about him winning Pennsylvania by 9 million votes. I found it some and I put it in the video. And like this is back, that's in 68. So imagine what they can do now with manipulating votes and stuff like that. Imagine the type of power they had. Think about what happened in 2000, right? With the hanging chads and all that. And like, what Bush says, just because you got all the votes don't mean you're gonna win. Just because you got the most votes don't mean you're gonna win, right? And Al Gore, they stopped counting the ballots, the votes in Florida because the U.S. Supreme Court decided to hand Bush the United States president job back in 2000. And Al Gore, the way they were doing a recount, he was gaining on Bush's lead, and then they just stopped it. But Al Gore could have really just won. All he needed was 5 electoral votes, or 5 electoral votes, whatever you call it. You got the electoral college, but he just needed 5 of those votes. He could have got that either from Arkansas. They had 5 at that time. I don't know how many they got now. They were 5. He could have got from Arkansas, or he could have got 11 from Tennessee. His father was a very prominent and famous U.S. Senator, Al Gore Sr. from Tennessee. And, Bill Clinton was the president at the time. He was from Arkansas, from Hope, Arkansas, Hope. Keep hope alive, keep hope alive, keep it alive. So, I mean, but yet he didn't get either Arkansas or Tennessee, but he had Joe Lieberman as his running mate, the Jewish guy, Jewish senator from back east. I don't know if that helped or hurt him, but but he could have won, but he might have won Florida. But that was 20. What? Man, it was like 22 years ago. Time go by so fast. I remember that I couldn't vote because I was in St. Louis. I was registered in Tennessee. Now, when I was talking to my good friend at that time, we ain't friends no more, but I was calling him. We was on campus. I was in my room, and he was in his room. And I was saying, like, man, I don't think it'll make a difference who's president. I mean, whatever. Why get upset? And then you know what happened the next year, right? That was 2000. And I remember like on September 11th, that morning, the first person I got a call from was my mom. I was asleep. It was Tuesday when September 11th happened. I ain't gonna never forget. Was it Tuesday back in 2001? I think it was Tuesday. And my mom called me and said, they're killing everybody. I said, huh? They're killing everybody. I said, what you talking about? They're killing everybody. She turned on TV. I turned on TV. I thought I was looking at some type of Die Hard movie or something like that. I saw that plane. Allegedly, the plane hit that World Trade Building, the second time, and it's like, wow. I couldn't believe it. It was weird. We were like living a surreal time, and I just remember that week later on that 2 Live Crew was coming to town. It was coming on campus without Luke Skywalker, but they had 2 Live Crew coming to campus. They had the brother, like there was the black Asian guy, the Blackanese guy that was in 2 Live Crew. It was kind of like a little mini Jabba the Hutt. I think he passed on to glory now, but man, it was weird to have September 11th happen the same week that I saw 2 Live Crew on campus. Had them Luke dancers, them girls. I guess what they call twerking now. Boy, I had a good time with that. Like it was weird, man. Went from September 11th to having 2 Live Crew perform just a couple of days later on campus. It was crazy. But anyway, college days, but I ain't gonna never forget. But yeah, I actually found one of these articles online. And thank y'all for the support, for hanging out. I hope it's worth your time to hang out. Thank you. You're far too kind, man. I'm gonna show y'all the article. And he said Wall Street Journal. I think they probably covered it too. But you gotta have good researchers, and I mean, you got stuff online, but you gotta know what you're looking for a lot of times. A lot of us be trying to search, can't find, because you gotta type in certain words and stuff like that, and there's other things you look for. This one article I found from the Spokesman Review. That's one article. I'm trying to check out, make it larger. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I guess it's big enough. Anyway, I could read it. I'm gonna read it. I think I can read it. So we all be news free Dixie for the 21st century, man. Y'all come out. What y'all going? What is good? It's all good in the hood. Okay, it's all good in the hood. Okay, vote computers revolt during crucial night. Thursday, November 7th, 1968, from the Spokesman Review. New York, in the grand ballroom of the New Yorker Hotel, with its crystal chandeliers, carpeting, and hundreds of telephones, shifts of workers Wednesday checked the results of the 1968 election. It was a bizarre climax, a statistical hangover to one of the most turbulent elections in U.S. history. We don't have any reason to doubt the totals we put out, said J. Richard Elmers, executive director of the vast computer network established by the major news media to speed election results. We're checking down the totals out and checking them back. We're going to verify this stuff. We're going to validate the returns so we don't embarrass anybody. We're reconstituting the whole election. We're calling every county clerk in the country. But as of now, Elmers assured, there is no reason to doubt the returns we distributed to the public. Elmers, a tall, soft-spoken, gray-haired man, slouched in his chair from fatigue. I'm 50. Today I'm 80, he said. It had been a tiring 24 hours during the height of the vote counting election night. The giant computers used by the news election services began to spew out erratic data, reporting, for example, that Dick Gregory, fourth party candidate, was polling 9 million votes in Pennsylvania. Let me read that again. It had been a tiring 24 hours. During the height of the votes counting election night, the giant computers used by the news election service began to spew out erratic data, reporting, for example, that Dick Gregory, fourth party candidate, was polling a 9 million votes in Pennsylvania. That is wow. Just think about that. Just think about it. That's insane. I think y'all can hear me. Yeah, y'all can hear me. So I was just making sure y'all can hear me. I get paranoid about the type of things. Elsewhere, the computers reported returns from 600 precincts in one county, when actually the county only had 200, all clearly wrong. As the errors flowed faster, it became clear there was major trouble. So major that the two main computers used by the news election services had to be shut down. Harry executives, Harry means is, I guess, anxiety and all. The executives shipped to a secondary system of slower computers in 7 states. For a time, there was doubt that the figures which had been used to inform millions of television viewers, and newspaper readers, and the candidates themselves were accurate. Elmers announced during the height of the crisis, shortly before 1 a.m., we are getting such total variations in the individual states that I consider the total being produced by the main computer system not reliable beyond question. We are going to shut down the transmission from the prime system and wait for the totals from the regional system to overtake them. There may be a period of 30 minutes without vote totals. With this word, some television network executives backed away from projecting winners. Some citizens sent telegrams to the networks asking who won and what would happen if the extremely close presidential race wound up in the electoral college. And what was the reaction of Richard Elmer's closeted with two troubled computers in a fourth floor room at Rockefeller Center? Just despair, he said later. We've been testing since January. The day before election, the thing worked perfectly with simulated data. The backup computers never designed for speed fed results to newspapers and the networks slowly. And because of this slowness, the cliffhanger became even more so. Backup computers in New York, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Dallas, St. Louis, and Los Angeles finally filled the need. One executive of the National Broadcasting Company saw some light in all the darkness. I'm glad it was an error for Dick Gregory rather than some subtle thing. He said, this is the executive of NBC. Remember, Dick Gregory's good friend, Bill Cosby, was going to try to buy NBC later. You know what happened, right? That's not an urban legend. New York Times had an article that came out that Bill Cosby was going to try to buy NBC with a group of investors, okay? A lot of y'all think that's an urban legend. It's not. It actually happened. I'm going to read that dude what the executive from NBC said again. I am glad it was an error for Dick Gregory rather than some subtle thing, he said. The errors were dramatically wrong. It didn't take long to tell. What was wrong? Technicians spent all day Wednesday checking. Elmer said the trouble had been traced to a programming error. In other words, wrong information originally had been fed, perhaps months back, into the NES giant computers. It's something buried within a very complicated program designed to do a huge job, Moan and Abe said Elmer's. There was no machine failure. It was the programmer. Pallet's error. It was a human failure. When planes go down, it's always pallet errors. Never that they got missing parts in the plane and that somebody sabotaged the fuel tank or whatever, right? So this is what we did. This is 1968, y'all. This is 1968, right? Think about what I'm saying. So before that, let's go back to 1960 when Nixon probably did. I'm not a crook. Nixon probably did win the White House, but because they had some funny business going on in Cook County, Illinois, in particular, Chicago, they had dead people voting for Kennedy. So he had The Walking Dead back in 1960 go for Kennedy. So it was a real Knights of the Living Dead. They voted for Kennedy. And Nixon probably did win the election, but he didn't challenge it. But in 68, you had another Nixon running again. You had another Kennedy that was challenging for the nomination for the Democratic Party. Could have probably got that nomination, but he was assassinated in Los Angeles. That was JFK's brother, RFK, Robert Kennedy. So he had Dick Gregory. I think he was representing the Freedom Party. And who to say that Dick Gregory didn't win the 1968 presidential election? Who to say that didn't actually happen? And then an NBC executive said, "Oh, I'm glad it was an error instead of some type of what you meant by subtle. What you trying to say that people wanted real change?" Because Dick Gregory, you got to think about it. He ran for mayor of Chicago too against Gangster Daley, and everybody, FBI director Jacob Hoover tried to put out a hit. Where on Dick Gregory in Chicago using who? The mob. And Chicago is a gangster town. Let me play that. But I just want to show y'all. I'm just tired of people saying, "Well, Dick Gregory's crazy." Dick Gregory is creatively maladjusted. He was a brilliant man who was unconventional, and he was trying to give us sanity in an insane world. And so when you try to be sane or try to give us some type of information, some type of logic in the world built and run on insanity, you look crazy to the masses, and you pay a price for that. But I'm gonna play the clip. I'm gonna play it again because a lot of y'all, some of y'all knew, but a lot of y'all been good friends for a long time to the program. But I want to play this clip because I got a lot of Dick Gregory clips over the years. I got a decent archives. I always go back. I get the resources to do some of the audio again for some of the shows and stuff like that. It is what it is. I never expected myself to be a legacy bearer for Dick Gregory when I started doing podcasts and all this stuff that I'm doing. I was really running a fool's errand. And God take care of fools and babies, right? But let me play this Dick Gregory mob hit from Edgar Hoover to let you know that Dick Gregory was serious about what he was doing. You know, he liked to get a good laugh out of people, but he was very hard work. And this is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century.
This is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. See how it works? Somewhere. Can you dig it?
And so I'm the one with me and Mark Lane released the investigation and book that calls the Kennedy King assassination investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason we added King in it, Kennedy, because this racist Congress wasn't going to appropriate the millions it needed to investigate. So all at once, J. Edgar Hoover sent a telex out to the Chicago Bureau to kill Dick Gregory.
Mm.
And that was in '68. Some kind of way, I had the memo before the FBI had it.
Mm.
It's somewhere in 1978, the Chicago Tribune found out about it. And those of y'all got computers. It's Chicago Tribune, Friday, March the 10th, 1978. Headline, front page. FBI memo, used mob to kill Dick Gregory. Those are the same folks. Now I tell you about some tapes on King.
Mm.
The late J. Edgar Hoover ordered the Chicago office of the FBI to develop measures to neutralize black comedian Dick Gregory and suggest the use measures could use including alerting La Cosa Nostra. At that time, the FBI had never admitted La Cosa Nostra existed.
Mm.
La Cosa Nostra, to verbal attack Gregory had made on the crime syndicate. The agent is the filthiest. Crime syndicate is the filthiest thing on the planet. And on, right? So that's what we're talking about in this America.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, that's cool. Let me do something right quick. Check out something. Yeah, it'll mess with my Wi-Fi connection, whatever. I saw it was getting blurry out out here. It's kind of like sleepy time. Just sleepy time down south. Yeah. It was a Tuesday, huh? Okay. Okay, yeah. Talking about September 11th. Yeah, you dropped out the kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard they had some pictures of him in compromised position, so they control. But but the government is the big mob, but I was making a point. I just want to show how dangerous a funny man was. Like we talk about like I had this show about Ye, comparing him to Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound was a renowned poet who they now label anti-Semitic because he was trying to get to the truth about why were these world wars fought that he lost so many friends in. And he was an enemy of the state because the pen is mightier than the sword, right? And Ye is a wordsmith. He's a music creative guy. Something about these artists they fear when they get their voice. Because you got to remember, we talk about Stalin, Joseph Stalin, Soviet Union. We're going to talk about Russia in about not that long from here. But, when they were doing those purges, Stalin would purge some of the citizens out of Russia. The first people he was targeting were the artists. There's a lot of great artists, musicians, visual artists and stuff. They had to leave Russia doing when Stalin was running everything, during the Soviet Union. They had to leave because they was in fear of their lives. Because artists are feared because we provoke thought. You look at a work of art at a museum. A lot of us don't know what the artist's true intention was, but once that art is produced, the world is open to interpretation to anybody. And one of the things that these so-called totalitarian places, even now in America, these fascist organizations, they love to control people's thoughts. They fear independent thought or contrary thoughts and opinions and things of that nature. So artists do that. Art is thought-provoking. That's dangerous if you can't control it. Because you think about even one of my favorite artists, of course, is Pablo Picasso. Picasso was a Spaniard. He admitted later on when he was securing his legacy that a lot of his ideas came from Africa, from African art. Spain is right by Africa. You remember the Moors are from Africa. They came to Spain, dominated Spain for centuries. And they civilized Europe and stuff. So Picasso's influenced by African art. That's not a no-brainer. Spain's right by Africa. But when he had his studio in Paris, they wouldn't touch it. The Nazis wouldn't even touch his studio. They was afraid. I don't know, man. Nazis killed a whole bunch of people, but they wouldn't touch Picasso's studio for whatever reason. I thought that was fascinating to me because he did that big mural called Guernica that commemorated the horror of the bombing of Guernica by Franco, who ran Spain for years, for decades, and he was like the Spanish version of Mussolini. They were real close to Adolf and stuff. They had the Spanish Civil War back in the 30s. You had black men like Oliver Law fighting the war. Like you had some black people probably fighting in Ukraine and stuff like. Yeah, I mean, man, y'all interested by Oliver Law, who's forgotten about. Look up Oliver Law. He's interesting. And I need to do a real show. I did a show, I don't know, a year or so ago about Oliver Law, a little bit. And I had a picture of him with Paul Robeson. And I pointed out the wrong person as being Oliver Law in that picture. Oliver Law was a big man. It looks like, Paul Robeson wanted to play him in a Hollywood movie, but it never got approved. He wanted to tell the story of Oliver Law and the Lincoln International Brigade, Spanish Civil War, a black man fighting for the Spaniards, but America would not let black men fight for Ethiopia when Italy invaded Ethiopia back in the day. You had Italian Americans sign up with the army in Italy to invade Ethiopia, but the American government did not want to allow black Americans to fight for Ethiopia. This country, we just put up a lot of weird stuff. I'm just telling y'all history that should be better known. What I'm talking about, I'm lost now. But anyway, brain fog. This stuff is real. But anyway, getting off of that, with the Georgia thing, I don't trust how they run things in Georgia. Georgia's weird, but that's a whole country as a whole. I talked to family from Georgia. They were talking about how they tired of black men. These are black men that are involved in the community. They're tired of black men being respected by the mainstream or lamestream, but also by some of these prominent black women that like to dog out black men and try to downplay our contributions to this narrative about us being empowered. Brothers are needed, and it's proven now that things are changing because black men are being highlighted and targeted. You got prominent black men for whatever reason, even Will Smith. It could be Kyrie Irving. It could be Ye. It could be Herschel Walker. It could be a lot of different people. Dion Primetime. Black men, we the straw that stir the drink. We help create the conversation. We help sustain the moment, turn it to movements. Black men are needed. We keep on trying to talk about, I don't have no problem with the alphabet people and queer affirming people and all that stuff, but I'm saying we got more things done when we had hetero black men being the face and leading things. It's not to be patriarchal, because we never been allowed to be patriarchs in our own so-called communities. Black men were never allowed to be the patriarchs. You know what I'm saying? We always been, you got to think about even as far as gender relationships. Frederick Douglass proudly said he was a feminist. So some of the early supporters of feminism were black men. But then you had the white feminists, they all weird and twisted. Like I said, Susan B. Anthony and them saying, we know the black man fought and died, but we want the rights. We're better educated. We deserve it. We your women. But you had the black man that fought on the battlefield, getting slaughtered, fighting back, massacres and everything. So to say that, and we freed everybody for the franchise, you understand? But I'm looking at it doesn't even matter to own a franchise, to be ownership of this so-called voting experiment. Because are they really counting the votes? I mean, they can manipulate voting. You want me to believe we landed on the moon? Y'all can't get the election right for 1968. See, we landed on the moon next year, but the year before we gave 9 million votes to Dick Gregory in Pennsylvania. We made a mistake. It was human error. Okay, we go along with that. But with the Herschel thing, they kept on saying he didn't have the experience. He had more experience dealing with the national spotlight than Warnock did. Warnock was a preacher in Dr. King's church, of course, Ebenezer down in Atlanta, but Herschel was a football star at the collegiate and professional levels. He dealt with the national spotlight early on in life, and also, from my understanding, he's a successful businessman. He's a multimillionaire businessman. So he got some type of sense. Y'all keep on saying he's stupid. My thing is, it's people that sound like Herschel Walker, I know, are highly intelligent. And it's different types of intelligence. You know, how many of y'all can run football plays and really execute them? He was able to do that for a career. He won the Heisman. I mean, he's a football guy. I mean, what did Warnock had before, you know, he ran for a seat to complete somebody's term? I mean, Warnock was not a household name. I knew about Herschel Walker since I was a kid. I'm a grown man. I'm almost 50 years old. I mean, that sounds weird, but I knew about Herschel when I was a little kid. You know, I'm a Cowboy fan. I knew how grateful we were for Herschel's sacrifice for the Cowboys. So, so my thing is, it's weird because it's not about issues. Because like, even though you look at, you know, Herschel say he's pro-life, and people say, well, women came for, he forced them. He couldn't force them to do anything they didn't want to do. They didn't get forced. They too liberated. Around this time, women too liberated. You got too many choices. It's like Burger Queen. It ain't Burger King. It's have it her way. It's on the right way to have it. So that's how it's Burger Queen right now. It ain't Burger King. So I mean, and even if that's so, he could have had regrets about it later and say, you know what? Like y'all say Obama wasn't for gay marriage, supposedly. Yeah, he changed his mind. He had a Lincoln come to Jesus emancipation moment. So I mean, Herschel made a change his mind about the abortion thing. And I know people that had abortions, they're not proud of it. These people that I love, these women that I respect and love, family members, friends, and they don't brag. It bothers them. You could tell it bothers. Some of them say it does bother, because he's like, you know, maybe I should have. That's why I might not have any right now. I don't know. People take that stuff. It's serious. It's serious. But yeah, it's about how we treat kids when they get here too. Don't forget about that couple, about that woman. I'm gonna let y'all look it up. It was a state politician down in Georgia. She was ringing an alarm about the child protective services down in Georgia, and she was on Alex Jones' show a couple of times, at least one time. And I think she made a statement that I'm not suicidal, so if they suicide me, know that I didn't do it. So what was weird, she was very outspoken. This is a white lady down in Georgia. She was very outspoken about what was going on with kids and child protective services down there. Next thing you know, she's a victim of a murder suicide. They said that her husband killed her and killed himself, allegedly. And yeah, we dropped the ball on that. The lady said, well, hey, I ain't suicide. It was like even a black woman out in Black Wall Street in Tulsa. I think she was part of the Chamber of Commerce out there. I mean, like, she was part of the Black Wall Street thing. I think she ran a bank. I don't know the details like that, but she was found dead. Her and her husband was found dead. They never said how she actually died, but I'm sure there's people in Tulsa that know the behind the scenes details about what actually happened to that sister. I think it happened like this summer. I want to say it was around Juneteenth time. She was connected to some type of Black Wall Street Greenwood project down there, and they found her and her husband dead in their home, and they never said exactly what really happened. So that's funny how they play these games. But what I'm saying is, with the Herschel thing, I don't think he was that worse of a candidate than Warnock. Warnock didn't have any experience until he got the experience. You don't have experience until you get it. You know, they just elected this 18-year-old black boy mayor of a town in Arkansas, Earl, Arkansas. I don't know what he can do at 18. He might be a prodigy. I don't know. But I think that's interesting because he's a town of 2,000 people. He beat somebody that had experience. That's well known in the town, and he is 18-year-old kid who just graduated beating him. Or I don't know, it was a he or she. I just look at the headlines, like there's so much stuff going on. But what I'm saying is, you don't have the experience until you get it. You know, Joe Biden was elected senator at 29, right? From Delaware. Look how much hell he caught. I mean, I guess he was learning on the job. Look how much stuff he was able to do. And y'all still voted for him because he said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That means if you don't vote for him, you don't know who Calvin Candy is. You don't know about Candyland, man. You don't know your place in Candyland. So that's what I hear. But like, even with Stacey Abrams, being disrespectful in a way, I don't think she's a bad person by any means. But you being disrespectful towards black men and want to justify that, and y'all talking about you got to re-educate us and all this. No, you got to respect us. You got to know the price we paid, our men, past and even present, have paid for your right to stand on something. You could talk about the black women entrepreneurs of Black Wall Street, but it took black men to create a space for you to excel. Black men helped found that and helped create that space for black women to excel. It was black men that said, if you don't treat our sisters right at the factories up in Detroit, we're going to walk out on y'all. The black men had the sisters back, even in the Montgomery bus boycott. Black men protecting sisters from rape, escorting them home and things of that nature for 381 straight days. Stop trying to stop trying to step on black men, okay? Stop trying to neglect us and leave us behind. I mean, yeah, we got our issues, but it's no different than any other race. You don't see any other race of women that are encouraged to try to separate from their men. It's like, even if you look at the Brittney Griner thing, it's interesting with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a horrible negotiator. Donald Trump would have been head on home. He was trying to get a lot. He was trying to get the Paul Whelan guy, the Marine, so-called spy home. And really, that was the holdup. He was trying to get the white man home. And he just couldn't get it. And Brittney Griner was the best he was going to do. But it's like, you look at the world. I'm not disrespecting Brittney Griner. I heard she has some domestic abuse issues. She's a great, all-time great basketball player, but I don't really watch I can't say I don't even watch the WNBA. I really would doubt if I watch her first game coming back. To be honest, I'm not a fan of the WNBA. It's not. The NBA is different. It's a different package. I like when people can dunk. I like the athleticism of watching men play basketball at a high level. Is just a different thing. God bless the women, all that stuff, and whoever watched it. But it's interesting. The world's a stage, man. You have Joe Biden comforting Brittney Griner's wife and all that, and you got Kamala Harris in the background, and all this stuff. And I mean, it is what it is. I respect, but you got people in dungeons over here in America, North American gulags. You talking about Russia and China? You got folks, human rights violations been violated for years and decades because of policies that had Joe Biden as the architect. But yet you ain't black if you don't vote for Democrats or Joe Biden, Calvin Candy. Y'all mad at Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones made black folks wealthy. He made a couple of black dudes where he got a third in command at the Cowboys, a black dude. So, I mean, and his father used to let black people shop in his shop in Little Rock. That's how they made their money. So Jerry do owe black folks some type of service. We should get a head coach. Who knows? It might be Deion Sanders. Who knows? I think the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl this year, though. I think they're going to create that narrative where the Cowboys go to the Super Bowl. If they win, they win, but they're going to be at the Super Bowl. Watch. But the Brittney Griner thing is like, where the alphabet community, why they wasn't more out there. It reminds me, when Richard Pryor went off on the alphabet community when he was doing a fundraiser out in LA. He went off on this, and where was y'all at when black folks catching hell and watching all this stuff? Nobody held black folks back, but everybody want to get behind black folks when it comes to pushing their agenda. They want to push it from the back, push it real good. Push it real good. They want to push us all in the back. They want to be behind us when they pushing their agenda behind us. Get Michael Evans over here. Power to the people. Keep on pushing. Keep on striving. Okay, they want to do that to us. But when it comes to our issues and our objectives and agendas, nobody want to get behind us. They want to get behind us when they want to get behind our behinds. But that's I'm just saying, I'm just being honest and real. That, Brittney Griner, you want to be a man. Everybody confused about their roles. I mean, that's good. Good for you. And Michael Parsons, the Dallas Cowboys star, he said something about, leave a Marine behind. Hades and all. And people got mad about that, but I'm glad he spoke his mind. That's a black man who spoke up to what a lot of people were thinking. Now, I have no issue per se. I stay out of white folks' business for the most part when it comes to those type of things, because it does not benefit me. But I'm glad, in regards to Brittney Griner, I'm glad that she home. It's gonna be interesting the moves she make and what she end up saying, the interviews she grant, and how they're gonna spin all this and all this stuff. But it is with him. But they were blaming black men for Brittney Griner. You had black women and other people blaming black men, like LeBron James. If they were LeBron James, first of all, LeBron James is so scary. He would not dare take any cannabis oil or smoke or total joint in a foreign country. You think LeBron James will do something that foolish? You think he's gonna mess up his bag? LeBron ain't built like that. Maybe if you say, I don't think, if that was LeBron, first of all, she ain't LeBron James. LeBron James, they wanted to lynch LeBron James when he left Cleveland. LeBron James had more power than the mayor of Cleveland, than the governor of Ohio when it came to the economy of Cleveland. They wanted to lynch. They were burning jerseys, but they wanted to hang him from a telephone pole, when he left doing the decision, right? Now, man, white folk, then he had Dan Gilbert, who the owner, he basically was saying, talking like some Calvin Candy language. You never heard Jerry Jones talk bad about one of his black players. He used to, like Michael Irvin them Coke parties and all that, Nate Newton and all them guys getting in trouble with the law. Jerry right there with the bag. I'm gonna help y'all. Y'all my people, man. Y'all help me make money. I'm gonna help y'all. This is Uncle Jerry. Yeah, but Dan Gilbert was throwing LeBron like he wanted to lynch LeBron himself. But that could have been a play anyway. That could have been a thing where they had agreements. See, y'all, this is all theater. Sports ain't really competitive. It's more about theater than competition. All this stuff is rigged. Even Steph Curry. When they lost against the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? They lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers back in 2016. Historic breakdown. They won more games than regular season than the Chicago Bulls, but they lose the most important game that matters. It's like when the New England Patriots won all those games, and they lose the one game that really mattered, the Super Bowl. Same thing what Steph Curry and them did, and his wife, she had a big mouth, and she was doing her best Ye impersonation. She said, what she said? It's all rigged. It's all rigged. She said on her social media, it's rigged. Yeah, it is rigged. You're right. And a lot of people, it shocked a lot of people because this guy, her husband was the first unanimous MVP in league history. Michael Jordan was never a unanimous MVP. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, but now you know it's rigged when Steph Curry is the first. Not even LeBron James, a unanimous MVP, but Steph Curry. And Steph Curry is great, but not even Michael Jordan has a unanimous MVP in his prime. I think she would tell the truth. But once you figure out this sports thing, you stop investing so much emotion into this. It's like with Deion. I was disappointed, but I'm not disappointed in Deion as a man. As a coach, he's a great motivator. And he has the right to live the life the way he sees fit. It's like what people try to tell me what to do. They think it's cool to be poor. Until they're poor, they think it's cool not to be able to pay for what you want and all this stuff, and to receive some love, to be able to support yourself and support a family doing the so-called good work, and put in a good word and endorsement. No, you need the system ran on money, man. You need money to live. Money ain't everything, but money could buy you many things. Money ain't everything, but money could buy you many things. But with this Brittney Griner thing, it was George Werewolf. Well, Herschel called himself a werewolf. He was a vampire at first, and he's a werewolf. And people say, well, hey, that's a joke. How he weird, but you down there, the Centers for Disease Control is in Georgia. All type of weird stuff that happen around the Centers for Disease Control. Think about the missing children. Like, Wayne Williams been in prison for years. Children still going missing. They got a lot of missing children here in Memphis. And this is a distribution hub. You talking about trafficking and stuff like that. So he say stuff like, he said, aliens are my family or something like that. He trying to tell y'all that UFOs are real. You know he's friends with Donald Trump. You know Donald Trump got the UFO files. That what he got probably at Mar-a-Lago, them UFO files. You know, you know that comedian Jackie Gleason. He was close friends with Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon allegedly showed him some proof about UFOs and aliens. But Jackie Gleason was deep into that stuff. And I think his grandson is what the guy, that actor named Jason Patrick. That's his name, that played in The Lost Boys. One of my favorite movies growing up, The Lost Boys, about the vampires out in Cali. I think that was California. But that's his grandfather, Jackie Gleason. But he was real deep into that UFO stuff. But he was close friends with Nixon. And Nixon told him that stuff is real. So Trump probably told Herschel Walker, Trump, his league, he had the United States Football League, USFL. I think they drafted Herschel. So Trump been knowing Herschel for years. And now they're trying to play out on Trump like he's such a bad guy. I don't know Trump like that, but I'm always peculiar when it comes to media portrayals of certain people. Like if they dog you out, because he used to be a media darling. He was a hero, now he's a villain. Like Herschel Walker was a media hero, now he's a villain. See, I gotta stop falling for that okie doke all the time. I don't know nobody would do that, but yeah, but I'm saying like LeBron would never find himself in a situation, so it's like a false argument. LeBron too scared of police and stuff. Him and the women and children, they too afraid of police to break the law. That's what LeBron said. I don't know what Brittney really. I mean, she identifies. I don't think she identifies as a woman anymore. Okay, Mississippi Valley State produced Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice went to Mississippi Valley State. I said he could actually be the GOAT of football. I mean, people talk about Tom Brady, but Jerry Rice was phenomenal. It's records that he held may never be broken anytime. Ain't gonna be broken anytime soon. But Deion got the dude, the head football coach at Kent State, to join him. I don't know what all Deion is doing. See, people they want to act like he's supposed to be Eddie Robinson. Nah, he's not supposed to be Eddie Robinson. He's supposed to be Deion Sanders. He's supposed to be who he is. He's supposed to be himself. He don't supposed to be nobody else but himself. And folks get out, he should do like Eddie Robinson. Eddie Robinson wasn't always appreciated. They took him for granted. Like I talk about Coach Finch, Larry Finch, legendary basketball coach and basketball player from what we used to call Memphis State University. They didn't respect Coach Finch at the end. It basically broke that man's heart. That man died from a broken heart. He had a stroke and everything. He died from a broken heart on how his own city and college that he loved so much. He loved Memphis so much. He was drafted by the Lakers and decided to play with the Memphis professional basketball team, the Memphis Sounds, whatever. He loved Memphis that much. He could have been a Laker. He chose Memphis over the Lakers, man. He could have went to any college in the country. He chose to stay at Memphis State. Racist Memphis State. You know what I'm saying? In Memphis, where Dr. King was killed for a reason. So, and speaking of that, we just lost the founder of Stax, James Stewart, the co-founder of Stax, with his sister, Estelle Axton. Now, how to put the word Stax together? You had Stewart, his last name, ST, his sister's married name, AX, or on last name, whatever, Stax. He just died. It's a white man in his 90s, lived a good life, was a hillbilly musician, but he founded a game-changing soul music record company. You had like Sam Cooke and Isaac Hayes and David Porter and Sam and Dave. He did records with Richard Pryor and Bill Cosby and all these people. Stax changed the game. And he passed away, I believe, Monday in his early 90s. So God bless him and his family for the contribution. Memphis is a crazy, interesting place. But Deion is doing what he think he need to do. He had that health scare, and he's 55. And I think if Deion was a younger man, he might have would have stayed at Jackson State a little bit longer. But he got a vision board that only he knows. The end game too. So God bless him. And also people talking about the trade-off between Brittney Griner and they got the Merchant of Death. And I don't want to care about it. I mean, please. I mean, everybody mercenary. One man's mercenary, it's another man's freedom fighter. One man's terrorist is another man's liberator. A lot of white folks saw John Brown. A lot of white folks in this country saw John Brown as a terrorist, as a mercenary. And like he said, if he was fighting for the money interest, he would be a hero. If he was fighting for white people right to have slaves and fighting team for the money interest in this country, he would have been a hero. So, like, you know, I don't do that white hat, black hat type of thing. That's like, you know, old westerns where, you know, the white hats is good guys, the black hats are bad guy. I don't, you know, it's too complex. You know, it depends on the moment and whose side you're on. And y'all know there was a black woman that gave John Brown the money to do Harper's Ferry. Mary Ellen Pleasant, look her up. She was a wealthy landowner out of California. She provided the money for John Brown to do Harper's Ferry, which led, she financed some of his stuff. And people thought it was always some white guys out east that was the bigger contributors to John Brown's causes, as was this black woman out of California named Mary Ellen Pleasant. She gave about almost $1 million in today's money to the cause of John Brown. And like she said, towards the end of her life, that was money well spent. That's probably the best money I ever spent. And her name should be an icon. And I, you know, like I said, she should get as much notoriety as a George Floyd, as far as I'm concerned, because she put her money where her mouth is. And they need to do a movie about Mary Ellen Pleasant. Somebody getting Will Smith ear. You're gonna do all this stuff. Tell about the story of the black woman who helped start the Civil War with her own money, who helped funded black, you know, John Brown, excuse me. They did that movie about John, or that show about John Brown. Was it on Showtime? They had that black boy in the dress, and it kind of upset a lot of people. But here's the thing: they used to put black boys in dresses back in slavery time. Look at the movie Goodbye Uncle Tom, the director's cut. They used to sell black boys in open slave markets in places like Natchez, Mississippi, and New Orleans, and to be the nuns would buy these boys. The white nuns from the church would buy these boys. The same church that helped them Nazis get away from justice over in Europe. Operation Odyssey or something, or Odyssey File, whatever. But they will put these boys in dresses and do sexual things to them. And it happens to this day. You know, in the early days of the church, it was okay. You know, the ministers and the nuns would have sex orgies back in Europe back in the day. Yeah, one time about Aretha Franklin's daddy and all them being wild, because, you know, remember when Aretha Franklin died, they kept on using this quote from Ray Charles, allegedly said, I don't know if he just said it because Ray Charles been dead since 2004, but some type of biographer wrote it, you know, L.C. Franklin and his church, they'll have all these wild orgies up in the church and all this. I mean, okay, whatever. And you hear, you know, stuff about Franklin's girlfriend, the great gospel singer Clara Ward. Alleged she was known for bringing Dr. King's white women prostitutes with blonde hair and blue eyes. He loved them blonde hair, blue eyes, white girls. They used to get down back in the day. Because they had this testimony of this white woman out in Vegas. He said she was brought to the hotel room and Dr. King and Clara Ward got down on her. They treated like she was a 2-piece or a 3-piece with a biscuit. I don't know, but people like that kind of silly. That's what people think is going to come out in 2027. There's a reason why they put their statue of Dr. King in D.C. The government knew that they were guilty as charged when it came to destroying that black man, spying on his family for generations, destroying the black movements and stuff. COINTELPRO don't lie. So whatever they're going to find and reveal in 2027 about Dr. King, so be it. But let me play Judge Joe Brown take on the Brittney Griner thing. This is something we did a couple months ago. And then I'm going to close out the show. And thank y'all for being patient. I can't believe I keep doing these long marathon shows. I think that like I said, it's like he probably think that all black men listen to Future the rapper. And I like Future, but I don't listen to him for no political advice. I don't think that's the right move, but I can understand. Ain't a lot of us going to church, man. Ain't a lot of black guys going to church. The church is dwindling. The black church is almost on it's almost DOA. I don't think that's the right move. I don't even trust this so-called government sanctioned weed. The same folks that gave us the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. Yeah, we all gone whole about this. You got brothers still being arrested and stuff for marijuana related stuff, right? So it's just interesting. I don't trust it. And Jamal Bryant will prove that he loved that FBI money, the faith-based initiative money. He loved that FBI money. I met Jamal Bryant when he was a pastor up in Baltimore. My mom was a big fan of his. So we actually went to his church. So I met him. He had Mrs. Fix My Life at a special like revival thing they did that day. So I met Van Zant. I don't know how you say her name. These names, I don't know, Ileana Van Zant, whatever. She was there, and I met Jamal Bryant. I took a selfie with Miss Van Zant. And somebody took a picture with me and Brian. It was interesting. Jamal, he kind of reminded me of Eddie Long. Got charisma, great communicator, but is very flawed like anybody. But you know, at least he loved women, I guess. I don't know. He got a love for them sisters. He got the babies to prove it. Nick Cannon ain't got nothing on Jamal Bryant, but I don't think that's the right move at all. It's like you saying, I want to bring in the brothers. Let's give them out. Let's show free porn. Let's show porn in the church to bring the brothers out. Give them porn, weed, and chicken sandwiches from Popeyes. Nah, I think that's low vibrational. And when you in the spiritual, you want to uplift, not downgrade. You want to be uplifting people, not with no synthetic weed. No. Thank you for receiving, but I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna play that Judge Joe Brown thing. Thank you for the endorsement. We love you madly. Thank y'all for hanging out. Bring your friends along. They can hang out here too. Hang out. Yeah, Brittney could have been, and he said she's probably hermaphrodite. Maybe so. Look, y'all remember that black professor out in Cali, right? You talking about how the frogs was switching sexes, like they had some type of, he did some testing on some chemicals that caused the frogs to switch sexes or something like that. Y'all can Google that up. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, you gotta think about what they're doing to our food or our food products. It's like very processed stuff, like the contamination, or like Roundup, the Roundup thing with the farmers getting cancer from the stuff they use to fertilize their grounds, but they end up getting cancer. You think about even how they raise the catfish on these catfish farms and the ponds where they used to have the fertilizer in it, and then, you don't know what you eat, and it's so much stuff that they doing to us. It's like I get older, I'm realizing it now, but it's not too late. But shit, I mean, excuse me, shucks. It's just like you gotta learn how to manage this stuff. Don't let this stuff overwhelm you, because we already been exposed. It's like what Young Dolph is from, right? Young Dolph is from Castalia in South Memphis. That's right by the old Army depot, and they got the Kellogg's cereal plant over there as well too. But that ground's been contaminated by the U.S. government for decades. A lot of folks that live in those neighborhoods surrounding the Army depot, including my grandparents, died from cancer. It's a lot of folks that got cancer in the neighborhood. Young Dolph, people had cancer. His, one of his last places he visited before he died was that West Tennessee Cancer Clinic, right? He took the photographs with the nurses and stuff, and he was interviewed by the news. He said they did a good job of treating some of his family members with cancer. They probably all lived over in that area near the old Army depot with the chemicals in the ground. And his aunt, who was an advocate, like I met his aunt when the honorary street sign was revealed back in December of last year. And she's a good woman, from what I can tell, good vibrations, but she passed away from cancer because she was going through her cancer treatment when Young Dolph was around. And they probably took a strain on her because she founded a foundation with Young Dolph, and she's no longer here. And she was here around this time last year. So, I mean, they do a lot of things to us, like we with the lead and the pipes and the stuff and the drinking water. I mean, all this stuff, man. It's like, people tell me, are you vegan? I mean, they messing over the vegetables too. What do you think about Monsanto? I call them Monsters Inc. Monsanto making Franken fruits and Franken veggies, like in Frankenstein. So they really trying to get rid of us, but they trying to do it fast and slow because they want to make money while they destroy us. And we have allowed them to destroy us because, like, vampires, the only way they can come into your home, into your space, is that you invite them in. Come and knock on our door. Come and knock on our door. We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for you. You know what I'm saying? They're vampires too. Do. Okay. So let me play this Brittney Griner thing from Judge Joe, and then we're getting out of here. And this is We All Be, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. That's We All Be, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Oh, what a world, man. This is an interesting time to be alive. Now, if I could find that, so I can find it for you all. Boy. But yeah, but man, enjoy life while you can, man. This stuff is crazy. He said I'm gonna be on here just for under 2 hours, and I'm going to 3 hours. Well, I guess it's a bonus because actually, ain't gonna do no live today, or might do about Monday. But if you like the words from Brother Herb, please support the channel. We appreciate it. We love you, Matney. I'm gonna play this Judge Joe. And it's all good in the neighborhood, baby. But there's a lot to talk about. Somebody said earlier in the chats that everybody can cover everything. We can cover it as a group. You know what I'm saying? We could really work on that. Because like I'm down for doing teamwork because teamwork make the dream work. But we gotta learn how to reach out to each other too and not be afraid. Like a lot of people don't want to work with certain people because they're gonna steal the spotlight. And what's meant for you is gonna be for you regardless. You can only rob yourself of a blessing by not realizing your worth and things of that nature. But here we go.
There's this thing. You ever heard of collateral damage?
Yes, sir.
See, being free is not safe.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be very safe, but what happens is you have an authoritarian government. I mean, one time I was in what used to be one of those Iron Curtain countries. I was in Europe, and it was a long time ago, and I'm in a train station, right? I wasn't paying a bit of attention, and I stepped on this dotted line. I said, oh, shit, I know what I'm hearing. I just put my hands up like that. I heard all these Kalishnikov, Commandant General Kalishnikov. I heard all of these AK bolts going back and rounds getting chambered. Sprachen Sie Deutsch? Nein. Sprachen Sie English? Only there.
Well, I mean, 11 job.
Not good, yeah. Fritz, he steps on the line, yeah. Not good. Yeah, not good. No, worked it out. Like, they getting ready to blow my house away because I stepped on a dotted line being common. Everywhere is not America.
Well, Joe, I got to ask you about another international affair, like this Brittney Griner thing. Like, Biden just passed something recently about Americans being held hostage abroad or whatever on the hostile situations. What's your take on the Brittney Griner thing? I mean, is she getting out or like?
She would have been arrested in an American airport for bringing in cannabis oil. When you think of cannabis oil, don't think of marijuana. Think of hashish.
Okay.
And the amount she had, by the way, purportedly the dog sniffed it out. So you're going through a major international airport, one of the biggest in the world, and you carrying a good quantity of cannabis oil. You got to be a fool. Or else you're awful unlucky for forgetting that you had it. Maybe that's because you're still high. So by the way, the maximum time she can get in Russia for what she's already pled guilty to,
right,
is about the average sentence that she'd have gotten in America for having what she had. See, they have legalized marijuana statewide in a number of states, not yet Tennessee, but it's still against federal law. And when you start talking about hashish, or you start talking about cannabis oil, you got a problem. You talk.
Look, I'm clicking instantly, but why can't I hit anything?
Talking about refined product. You're talking about serious. Well, somebody said they set a system clean. Right. So fucking what? She had the drugs.
I already says here that like a medical prescription.
What the hell? Well, but it don't work in the Soviet Union. It doesn't work. They got to kill for that shit. Get your ass out and work for the people. Yeah, go get out there and work for the people, or get your ass put in a gulag.
But no, Judge, I keep on thinking Trump would have got out a long time ago. Trump would have got out. He got the other people out. They were guilty.
Let's put it this way.
They were guilty, Judge.
Yeah, but let's put it this way. She's not worth trading for a high-level spy. You save that for a real spy that has been doing work for the country, or an ally who's been doing the James Bond shit for real. You don't save it for somebody that is going over there, you know. Like,
but Trump is friends with Putin, right? He would have got out some low-level stuff.
No, that isn't what it's all about. Trump ain't on Putin's level. Trump's worth about 3 or 4 billion. Putin is supposedly worth a net of $120 billion. That puts it way up there.
He's a gangster, man. He ruthless, man. He tough.
Yeah, he used to be part of the KGB, a field operative. You know, one of James Bond's opponents. One of them real deal dudes, you know.
And he no pushover, man. I mean, you got to respect that on some level, that he's not a pushover. He wasn't to put it out on the line. Yeah.
He's real deal.
You know.
And he was a field operative in Africa, too, for a long time. Yeah. He's one of these stuck the knife in and shoved it forward. Not that way they do in the movies.
Now you think about,
yeah. By the way, this here, I'm doing service and selling sauce. So it's JJB for mayor of Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, yeah, that was. I just want to play that with Judge being prophetic, I guess, in a lot of ways. But yeah, talking about the stuff, atrazine, that was that stuff, that the chemicals that cause like some type of demasculation in frogs and other people, things and stuff like that. But anyway, well, I'm just saying the world's an interesting place. Yes, Oliver Law, like Oliver, and then Law, L-A-W. That's the guy who led the Lincoln International Brigade during the Spanish Civil War. Is a brother originally from Texas by the way of Chicago. So thank you all for being patient, and we're getting out of here. Thank you, moderators, Sister Luna, other folks, Brother John, and very educated crowd here. I respect y'all time and your intelligence. And so we're getting out of here. We're saying adieu, but the best is yet to come. Before I get out of here, I'm going to, do all the stuff. If you like the words from Brother Hurd, you please spread the word. We All Be TV. Let's get this to 100,000 listeners or subscribers, whatever they do. Subscribers, yeah. Let's get up to 100,000, just 10,000 away from that. It's been a long struggle. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. You dig that? So also support Cash App your support. Cash App $R2C2H2. That's Cash App $R2C2H2. You can PayPal, Google Pay, Zelle your support R2C2H2 at gmail.com. Just look at the scroller R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You can even Venmo your support at R2C2H2. That's at R2C2H2. Just be a member of this channel. You can join us. We All Be Tribe. Also, you can join us on patreon.com/We All Be. You can buy Art of His Art, R2C2H2.com. You can wear Art of His Art. Got my Jimmy Lunsford shirt on. One of my Jimmy Lunsford. Go to our official Teespring site. We should have the Teespring store shelf available below the description. But if we don't, I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to do what it do. And we all be in it to win it. Let's go to our official Teespring. We'll put it in the chat. I enjoyed this. I didn't know I always say I ain't gonna be that long. I can only imagine when I start having people on the show how long this stuff gonna go. I start putting the link in the chat. Y'all want to get on this show, talk y'all stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with be a charity case when you need charity. Yeah, Cowboys got it, man. They gone. Thank you, Sister Gail. Love you, man. You an interesting sister. Are you in Memphis, by the way? Got to meet some like-minded women. So it's hard out here, man. Welcome, Sister Sheila. Like I said, Watercolors by John Daly. That's on YouTube. It's at the YouTube audio library. Okay. But yeah, check us out. I'm gonna put some more shirts out there. Haven't had any special holiday sale. I might do a discount soon on the shirts because I know people love them shirts. Shout out to Law Dog. She got a shirt, a Three Kings shirt, Baba Dick Gregory, Paul Mooney, Richard Pryor, whose birthday was this December the 1st. Richard Pryor is like a life path number 9, like me. My life path is number 9, and Richard Pryor's life path is number 9, and Jimi Hendrix's life path is number 9. We the game changers, innovators, and we sacrifice for the greater good. You will be in North Carolina. Some pretty women in North Carolina, and you one of them. So you will be somewhere where I got to drive. This is like God like playing with me. But anyway, it's all good. Oh man. But let me read. I said let me read. And it's weird getting older, man. I got the 42-itis. It's like, Jesus, I'm 42. Oh God. Okay, disclaimer. Sorry. Disclaimer: the views expressed by host and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. Thank you all. Great job, you all. I can't believe it's almost 3 hours in. I just got started. Where did the time fly or go, man? So we thank y'all. Words of Great Duke Ellington. We love you madly. Y'all keep on producing and pushing, in the words of Brother Ron, because we all be in it to win it. Thank you so much. We love you madly once again.